A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, but feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
All right, hello, hail everyone. Cheers to you guys.
Hello, cheers indeed.
It's not quite a lovely evening here in Scotland, but you know we're doing our best. I'm trying to
lovely for Scottish standards, we can put it that way.
But yeah, well, you know, there's not like fire and brimstone coming from the sky, so it's not too bad. But either way, we are here, and it's open bar number 105. So wow. I can't believe how quickly we're getting through this now. It feels like yesterday we had open bar 100, and now here we are. It's well over a month later. Yeah, we're getting through them. But
just keep on moving.
Yeah, but as we're prone to do, we like to give a little bit of a background for the year of our Lord in which we're doing this open bar, which in this case is 2005. So I thought you might be curious to know. In this year, this is kind of relevant for us actually. There was this file sharing platform called YouTube, I believe they called it, which launched this year or in February of that year. And the very first video was me at the zoo. Which,
I remember.
We remember those things. Yeah, so 2005 is when it began. It's funny because now, like, you know, when we've done previous entries like this, like with previous years, it was all very antiquated stuff, like, you know, the first ever like modem and stuff like that. But now we're getting into like the modern era with things like YouTube and stuff. It was also the year where we got Reddit. Yay!
Oh wow!
I'm so pleased about that.
Yeah,
and Google Maps for people who can't navigate. So that was also useful. First year that we had those. In terms of the movies of that year, the biggest ones were Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That was the biggest film of the year. 895 million worldwide. Another one we might be aware of, Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith.
I know that one.
Yeah, the last of the prequels, and you know, you could probably argue the last of like Star Wars being Star Wars.
Star Wars back on pause for a nice decade until the end.
Yeah, so that would have been a nice way to end it, I suppose, but never mind, we got more. It was also Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. 745 million that made worldwide. Interesting. And War of the Worlds came in at fourth. And King Kong. So it's a bit of a weird eclectic mix of movies, really. It feels like that sort of strange era where things were very much in flux, and, you know, superhero movies hadn't completely dominated the landscape yet. So
yeah, give them a bit longer, they'll get there.
Yeah, once we get to 2008, that's it. But it was also the year it gave us Batman Begins, which, you know, started off the Nolan trilogy. Jarhead, pretty good movie. A History of Violence, a very good movie. Kingdom of Heaven, a very boring movie.
Oh, History of Violence, wasn't that the last one that made it to VHS? The last movie?
Yes, it was. Yes, good fact. I like that one. Yeah,
on its way out. You know.
R.I.P. VHS.
We loved your VHS, but everything has its time. You
gave us many pleasurable experiences.
Yes, you did.
It was also the year that gave us Sin City, which I don't think we've ever talked about, actually. Kind of curious what your take was on that movie, but I liked it back in the day.
Sin City? Yeah, no, I really like Sin City. I love the style in that. It's often said to be possibly the most faithful adaptation of comic/graphic novel to film.
I mean, visually it doesn't get much more on point than that, I suppose. We also got Legend of Zorro, which was the follow-up to The Mask of Zorro. Yeah, I don't
Never saw it.
About that.
Too many people told me to avoid it, so I was like, you know what, I will.
You were a big fan of, we both were a big fan of
Mask of Zorro,
so I feel like we should watch it at some point just to experience it.
Yeah, do we have to? Was there a
we don't have to. No, it'd be interesting. We also got Cinderella Man, which is a very underrated movie. It's one of my personal favorites for Russell Crowe. I think it's really good. But on the other side or the other end of the spectrum, we also got Elektra.
How relevant.
I know. But yeah, we're not going to spoil it.
Did you ever see that?
I didn't actually know. I saw Daredevil, obviously, but I never watched Electra. I heard it was terrible, though.
Strange movie, yeah.
Yeah, and the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which I just think is the best name ever for any movie. But yeah, it was a good year for games as well. We got Shadow of the Colossus, which is really good. Resident Evil 4. You're a bit of a fan of that. God of War.
Love that game.
Fear, which I really like. I enjoyed that one.
I love that from what I played of it, yeah.
And Time Splitters Future Perfect, which I actually thought was really good. It was one of my favorite shooters back in the day. Anyway, so that was the year that was 2005. Kind of an interesting one, I suppose. But anyway, I suppose we've waffled on long enough about that. Shall we bring in our guests so we can talk about stuff?
Go for it.
All right. Well, we have got Reaper and Robot Head so far. Echo Chamberlain is kind of on the way, probably, I think. Anyway, welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you on board again. How is it going? Good as always, man. Yeah, so we've assembled a multinational team to do this thing, to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, I guess. We might as well just jump right into it. Now, I might suggest, because the movie's just out, and I don't want to spoil it too much for people, so maybe we try and keep it as, spoiler-free as we can and speak in general terms. Would you guys be okay with that?
I think if anyone's been on Twitter, that's too late, because I luckily saw it on the first day and came out, and Twitter was just full of pictures of people trying to destroy any surprise or joke in that film.
I think really the surprises are going to be in the cameos, aren't they? So maybe if we just don't name them, we'll probably be okay. But I guess I'm probably going to turn it over to you guys initially and just ask, how did you find the movie overall? And feel free to go in any order you want. I don't mind, really. Okay, shall I pick the order? Okay, we'll go. Okay, go Reaper.
I liked it. I thought it was pretty decent. It's not a perfect movie. It's got some flaws, but I thought the fight scenes were really good. I liked some of the cameos. Some of the jokes landed quite well. Some didn't. It kind of dragged in the middle, but all in all, I thought it was all right.
Nice. Robot Head, what about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a hard film to have problems with because it's just it's so entertaining. That sounds a silly thing to say for someone reviewing a film, but yeah, the story has problems. There's bits that seem very lazy, but it's enjoyable, and they give the audience what they want. We get to see them fight several times, so that's what we enjoy. But again, the same with the humor. I agree too with Reaper. It's some bits land really well, and other bits are a bit. Oh, geez, that was a bit tough. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it overall.
Before MauLer destroys all of our appreciation of the film, I guess I'll just offer up a couple of thoughts. I think, in terms of writing quality, it's probably the weakest of the three Deadpool movies. I think it tries to push some pretty unfunny jokes way too hard. But when it gets it right, it does it really well. And I think, obviously, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds play really well with each other. And I think there are some relatively good dramatic moments as well. They feel quite heartfelt at times, which surprised me. And I think if I was to define it, because people were often curious about, what does it have to say about the MCU and what does it impact that? It kind of doesn't. It's much more interested in not just the X-Men movies, but those early 2000s superhero movies in general. It's like a kind of love letter to that era of superhero films, which is kind of a forgotten era at this point. And it even calls it, some of the people who were involved back then, the forgotten heroes. But yeah, I think overall I quite enjoyed it. I can definitely see the problems with it. The entire plot kind of hinges on the main antagonist being kind of retarded. And there's a lot of convenience to keep things going, but when it gets it right, it gets it really right. So overall, it was okay. MauLer, why don't you tell us why we're wrong?
I end up having to defend Deadpool 1 a lot of the time because I think when it came out, a lot of people felt it was a bit cringe, and it's often cited as bringing in the insincerity era. It's doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever. But I always felt that was the that was the sell. It was in a world where everything was too serious. In fact, if you remember, Deadpool 1 and 2 had several references to how DC, which back then was like the grim, dark, sad universe, and it would make fun of it for that. I appreciated how they balanced the drama and comedy. I thought, as everyone did, that Ryan Reynolds was a perfect fit for Deadpool, and so he was. I liked his passion for the project. I liked that it was free of the reins that you'd find attached to many other projects at the time. I like the violence. I like the willingness to be experimental to an extent, but I also respected the format where they bounce between different timelines in order to try and give the audience what they want straight away, like an action scene, but then also try and provide a meaningful backbone to everything the character is going through, how he feels, etc. Deadpool 2 was a bit more disappointing. I still quite like it. I just didn't think it was as good as the first. Didn't think it was as strong. It's starting to fray at the edges of what I think they were much more solid on in the first one. And so this one, like I want to make clear, huge fan of Hugh Jackman Wolverine, huge fan of Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. You can see me on Real BBC saying excessively that the trailer was pretty solid, and I think there's lots of room here for a really meaningful look into the characters while also having some fun. And I'm always happy to kick Disney while it's down, which this movie seemed to want to do as well. However,
but
here we go.
I don't know why. Like for a second there, I was like, could try and sugarcoat it, but then I realized, what's the point? Like it's just, may as well just say it. And I'll open first with saying I think this will be hyper successful, and I think most people will love it. However, I think, and this is after thorough examination already, Deadpool was assassinated, Wolverine was assassinated, the cameos were sad, the plot's a complete fucking disaster, the world building's as bad as everything else in phase 4 and 5, the characters are all hyper retarded, the TVA is entirely nonsense. The comedy was a significant step down for Deadpool 1 and 2. They have the same self-awareness of someone like Boogie, where they do the thing and then highlight how shit the thing is. The comedy felt insecure, the drama was practically pandering instead of meaningful. Most of anything they tried to cobble together for any character was made out of horse shit and had about 5 lines per character to resolve with as much meaning as most things in phase 4.
So you enjoyed it then?
It was a good time.
Honestly, as soon as the phrase anchor being was mentioned, I was like, oh shit, this film's gonna be bad.
Really?
Yeah.
That was what did it for you?
Yeah, as soon as that happened, I was like, we're fucked. Because Deadpool was already fucked at that point as a character, and then I realized the plot and world were already fucked as well, and I was like, all I've got left is Wolverine, and they did not come through on him for me.
Wow. I mean, you understand this isn't the same Wolverine that we know. This is like alternate reality Wolverine.
100% I understand that, which is why I wish we had the one they promised we'd get instead of basically Diet Wolverine from Logan.
Interesting. I mean, I think for me, the movie got off to a slow start, for sure. Like the first 15, 20 minutes, basically before Wolverine shows up, I was borderline bored at times. I was like, okay, come on, we need to get this movie going now. Like, it just kind of feels like there was no energy behind it. And yeah, the
interview with Jon Favreau seemed to go on forever.
Yeah, and it wasn't
to worry me, that interview.
Yeah, and like we're not spoiling anything by saying that. Like, yeah, like Happy Hogan is in it just for a brief cameo. It's like it's nothing major. It's just like the premise basically is that Wade wants to, I guess, try out for the Avengers. He wants to try and join them, and he's not cut out for it, clearly, because he doesn't have the right temperament and stuff. So puts him into a bit of a funk, and he gives up superheroing for quite a while and just becomes a regular guy until the events of the plot capture him and put him into like a new position. But yeah, that whole cameo, that whole interview segment, it wasn't particularly funny. Yeah, it dragged on for quite a bit. The movie in general, I think, is probably about 15, 20 minutes too long, because I was starting to notice the length by a certain point. It's like, okay, where are we going next with this? There's quite a lot hanging around. Whereas like previous Deadpools have been relatively lean and mean, especially the first one.
What did everyone think about the cameos? Like how they were used, which ones were good, which one were bad?
This
a couple of them really.
substantive or pandering, and these were pandering for sure.
A couple of
Yeah,
them
I
really
think they
surprised me.
underused X-23. I think they used it a lot more.
Well, and I'm trying not to spoil things here by saying
Yeah.
which ones are in it, but a couple of them really surprised me. Like, wow, I didn't know that person was even willing to come back and do this stuff anymore. And in one case, like, I didn't know that person was even still an actor anymore. So
I know you mean.
damn. Like, and like a couple of them, I looked at them and thought, like, you've kind of still got it when it came to the fight scenes and shit. Like, I'd be interested in seeing this older version of that character, you know? I
was surprised myself how happy I was to see that person walk into a room. It was, and I was glad I didn't know who was coming up, like who was about to appear in, all the cameos. So I think I'd gone without seeing any of them. But yeah, when that actor walked in, the one that we all thought had stopped acting, I was surprised how good I felt about that. And I thought I'd like to see him again.
Yep. That would have been pretty cool. But there was a little I'm trying to be vague, but there was a little joke about like the troubled production history of one of Marvel's movies. I thought was really good. I guess this is like a broader point that I wanted to make. Like it showed that Marvel is not above laughing at itself and some of its shortcomings, particularly with the multiverse stuff. Like the movie just straight up goes in on that. Like, this is so garbage.
Well, what does he say to Wolverine? He goes, "You've come in when it's at its lowest point."
Yeah. Yep. And like,
I liked attractive Wolverine. I mean, attractive Deadpool. Only liked the stuff since Endgame. I think he said, didn't he? Something about that at one stage.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it probably could have gone a little harder. Like, I feel like Deadpool 1 would have been way more ruthless about how shit the MCU is now. This was kind of a toned down, tamer version of it. But even then, like, the fact that they're willing to acknowledge some of their shortcomings was nice. It was nice to see that.
Do you think that's because the film's because the MCU's in such a state, they went, we have absolutely nothing to lose. We're gambling everything on this film.
I don't know if it was like Ryan Reynolds pushing for this and basically saying, like, we can't make Deadpool work. Like, we can't bring Deadpool into the MCU and not have him comment on how stupid it is now and how boring it is. Like, because imagine if he came in and it's like, oh, I'm so excited to be part of this. It's an awesome universe, you know.
I think Kevin Feige is a visionary director. I think he's just brilliant. He keeps doing that.
I imagine it all had to be approved, and they probably had to walk a very fine line with what they could get away with in terms of mocking it and stuff, because they certainly didn't criticize like the pandering and the politicization and the MCU and all that stuff. Like they knew where to draw the line, I suppose, or the line was drawn for them by someone else. So it's a slightly toned down mockery, but it was still a mockery all the same, which was kind of nice to see.
What did everyone think of the violence and action scenes?
I like violence.
I like them. Again, all the problems I have are sort of around the story, but the violence I liked. I liked the, especially like the fight in the car. Again,
that was really good. Because this film's got loads of blood.
Yeah, I was introduced. It was virtually like, we're going to fight again right now because the audience is waiting for it, and I can understand. Looking at MauLer, that could annoy some people, but that I liked that they just went, we're going back into it again, and here's another fight. So
I kind of don't know how they got away with a 15, like considering how violent it is and how much gore there is. Like it's pretty impressive, and how much swearing there is. Like, it does not let up, and they got a 15 certificate. Like, that's impressive. And yeah, like the car bit, I just love how much they fucking hate the Honda Odyssey. Like, they just don't stop going on about how shit a car it is. Which I liked. Oh, Echo's here as well. Hello.
What was that old boy?
Sorry I'm late, everyone. I was climbing up Ben Nevis and I got stuck and out of breath and I had to helicopter.
Hey, that's my shtick. I tell you, man, I'm walking like Walter White's son today because of that. Like, my knees have gone completely. Anyway, sorry, we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. How did you find it?
Well, I went into the cinema, and there was like a high spirit to begin with, and then that spirit, you could feel it sort of ebbing and draining quite a bit. You know, people started sharing less, and I didn't really have that good a time. It felt like the film kept getting in its own way and lurching from one tone to another, and it felt like it could never quite get out of third gear. So it was kind of an odd feeling in the cinema. There's a lot of the the sort of irreverent and the puerile mugging at the camera, which felt a little bit kind of like I wasn't all that much into it.
I have a feeling in about a month, maybe less time, could be 2 weeks, this film's going to get shredded by the internet. At least for now, it'll be okay, but give it time. It'll be like a lot of these sorts of films age really horribly. For one thing, the CG is already aged horrifically.
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where they jump out of the bus near the end of the film?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't take my eyes off Wolverine. I was like, what is that monstrosity
so
of CGI?
fake.
Holy
Didn't
shit.
look anything like Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
No.
So much screen time given to the Welsh Deadpool. He got like at least 20 seconds worth of.
I was
There's a
very
Scottish
happy
one
to
as
see
well.
him. But
Was there one? I did not.
Yeah,
see
there's
the
one in the
Scottish
kilt. He just shows up right near the
brilliant.
end when what's his face shows up.
Right. Okay. That's good. At least I would have loved to have seen the Welsh one try to talk and just like
that felt like the most. If you had someone get him to that point, it's like just one line, make fun of the language. It's like the best opportunity ever. But yeah, I mean, pandering specifically to me with that one, you know, that's what they did that for, and I still didn't like the movie. So crazy.
Oof, they couldn't win you over.
They did try.
Did you
I
like
thought,
the old boy style shot where it's just this one and the camera's slowly moving and he's fighting all those people at the end? Do you think that was good or?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I just there's just stuff about it, plot and story wise, that strikes me as impossible not to think about. I think the thing I'll generally say, the choreography in this was a step above what you were getting typically in Phase 4 and 5 for sure.
I like the fight sequence in the car, and I like the fight sequence at the end. And in between, there was a whole bunch of 2 hours worth of stuff where I just wasn't engaged. And it had a really super unorthodox structure of all this weird multiverse abstract kind of stuff, but also a very conventional structure where it's the second act low point moment where he talks around the fire. And so having those two things didn't gel with me very well. The cameos were fantastic. That was probably the highlight for me. And I didn't like the idea of the story underneath this other story. It just felt, I don't know, I couldn't settle in that either. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a classic film by any means. And why do they keep making these bloated films? And why do they keep having a second, third act? Why does no one ever learn in these writers?
What a huge mistake to involve the TVA. I couldn't begin to tell you all of the problems that come with that.
I had high hopes that from the trailer that the TVA would come in and Deadpool would just fucking kill them all and be like, were they retarded? Instead, no, they actually kind of play a significant part in the story. I could have done without them. Because, everyone's sick of them. And for a movie that actually kind of straight up mocks the failure of the multiverse idea, like the fact that the TVA are still a viable thing in this is disappointing.
So that would be my example of the film doing a, haha, isn't this thing dumb? And then we all go, yeah. And then it goes, now we're going to do it. You're like, oh, okay.
Well, it's like the same, I imagine it would want to make fun of the idea of Marvel movies where like the entire universe is at stake because a person is about to use the universe destroying machine thing to blow up everything. And we have to stop it because all of reality is about to get annihilated. And like, isn't that so ridiculous? But that's kind of what you get in this film, and it's played off as a serious threat that they have to counter. And
did you like how the main villain of the film sort of just slotted into that role near the end? It was like a situation of, I guess I'll be the main villain. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what are you supposed to feel there? Are you supposed to be in a bubbling kind of irreverent mood where you're laughing along? Are you supposed to have in amongst that a little bit of actual drama or tension, or is it just stuff happening on a screen and it just kind of falls through the floor tonally?
This I think is the big shortcoming of the film, where I talked about the writing being like the weakest of the 3 Deadpool movies, in that it feels like the movie sells itself entirely on the the buddy movie formula of just seeing Wolverine and Deadpool together on screen, seeing Hugh Jackman back. Isn't that cool? There's loads of like one-off gags and stuff, like just to keep things rocking along. And the plot is almost incidental, or it's meant to be, but then the script itself places so much emphasis on the plot and the villain and everything that is at stake that you can't help but, but notice it. You have to take it in because it wants you to get invested towards the end. It tries to get serious.
Yeah. And you haven't been set up to slot into that kind of mood. Like Hugh Jackman is kind of tonally lost throughout the whole thing. And if you go back to the first one, it was a smash hit because the character was almost like nihilistic and puerile, which was such a great breath of fresh air. But you don't want him to have too much heart. But in this one, they got the ratio wrong of like irreverent kind of nihilism to actual, hero character with a heart. And so they got that kind of around the wrong way. So,
personally, in Deadpool 2, found the kid, as a lot of people did, to be really fucking annoying. It's probably the low point of the film, just the kid character. Meanwhile, Josh Brolin's Cable is fantastic. I love everything about him in Deadpool 2. He's super fun, super interesting, has a really great story, and I love his sort of connection with Deadpool as they change throughout the film. It's a real fucking shame they couldn't get him for this film, for whatever reason, because Cable, I think, would have been fantastic as a foil specifically to Wolverine and Deadpool.
I don't think so, because he's a straight man, and Wolverine plays the straight man in this. And I think if you got two of them together, like, they just kind of cancel each other out.
How much do you remember of Deadpool 2?
I mean, like, Brolin played it pretty straight.
Well, I can already answer that you remember very little because they've assassinated the shit out of Deadpool from Deadpool 2. Like, I'm trying to remain spoiler free here, but everything his girlfriend has as criticism of him was done in Deadpool 2. And it doesn't look like anyone remembers, which is really embarrassing, but that's what happens, I suppose. And then on top of that, Josh Brolin's Cable starts having no time or patience for Deadpool and is absolutely a straight man who gets straight to the job sort of thing, but by the end softens up and understands the benefit. And even saves, complete second spoil that film. He saves his family, so he's actually quite chill, happy, and a part of the team, so to speak. All we know is he can't go back to his own timeline, so instead he stays with them. The idea that he would see this Wolverine, who you could have characterized in a way that there is no such thing as one kind of straight man. You can have, and he's not even supposed to be a straight man in the same sense as a Cable, who is a hero in that film. This Wolverine is supposed to be the worst of the worst of the worst in the entire multiverse. Having Cable stand across from him would actually I would think, would generate infinite chemistry. You'd be able to talk to him about how, like, embarrassing he is, how pathetic he is, how just because he's failed people, just because things have gone wrong, that doesn't mean you give up, that sort of shit, while Deadpool would be trying to make jokes. And he'd be like, hey, you guys can get along. I like both of you. You don't understand Cable. Wolverine is like a hero. He's amazing. And Cable's just like, he's pathetic. And we could easily get some good fights out of it and stuff. All three are excellent actors. I wouldn't have any hesitation in thinking that could have been major potential. Instead, we wasted shit tons of time on cameos that go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Probably didn't have the money.
Probably.
There's a lot of cameos in this.
I reckon it's a legal thing.
Yeah. I don't know. The idea of multiverses and different iterations of the same character it means less than nothing to me now, because I don't care about anyone particularly on the screen. And so, yeah. And this is a film where lurching from set piece to set piece with so little proper connective tissue to get you from one thing to another, rather than just clunky action, high point, low point, where it's kind of things are really kind of like messy or not properly developed, and then up to another set piece somewhere else. So the lack of connective tissue there was a big thing, and it stopped the show from getting out of third gear, like I said before.
I think the formula that I was getting tired of was Deadpool and Wolverine fight each other to a standstill, and then a bunch of other guys come in and take them someplace else, because that happens twice in short order in this movie. And it just felt like, oh wow, that's like the script just straight up intervening and saying, like, time to move you on to the next place, guys. We can't really think of a reason for it, like particularly after the car fight, which is great fun to watch, but then it's just like they are straight up taken to another place without really any explanation. And then boom, some cameos.
Have we seen the I'm not up with the films. Have we seen The Void before, or is this the first time we've been to The Void?
In Loki.
Yeah, in Loki.
This is a
There we go.
This is
The Void confused me a bit in how it worked.
So
who was
they
there.
forgot what it is, unfortunately. It is the end of time. It is not a dimension. It is the end of time. You cannot... The plan... I'm trying to be non-spoilery here, but I don't think this will affect anyone's enjoyment. A villainous plan in this film is to destroy all timelines, leaving only the void, and to take full control over it. They forgot that to destroy all timelines mean you destroy the void. The void only exists at the end of the timeline.
Okay.
Even in this, I didn't understand how that worked, how they were going to get rid of everything. And I didn't even understand how the void worked, because it just seemed to be a place where people just turned up and went there. Yeah, and then they, like, even when I think everyone knows there's a lot of Deadpools. Even when they turned up, I was like, why were they all in the void? And
for reference, I despise Loki, but the way Loki explains it is that the TVA control and prune the universe such that it remains with one timeline. And when they prune a thing, as in like they melt it into, atoms, what's happening is they get teleported to the end of the timeline like a bin. So that anything that's off the sacred timeline, which, by the way, causes so many fucking problems for this film. Anything that goes outside of the sacred timeline gets pruned, is what they call it, and that teleports them to the void where Alioth, the giant dragon smoke monster, eats it, and it's gone forever. That's supposed to be how it works.
But in this movie, the void is portrayed more as just like quite a pleasant...
It's a dimension.
Planet. Yeah. Well, it's just a planet, basically, and it's got, like, deserts. It's got nice forests and stuff with roads that you can drive through.
See, when they left
90s, 50s diners, like,
when they were in when they were in the Mad Max section, the desert, I thought, okay, this is the void, right? It's just dead, desolate. And then when they took off, again, keep trying to think ahead, I'm not going to give anything away. And they're walking around a forest. I thought, oh, this place doesn't look so bad after all. It's just, but that's how it came across as just another planet. Like there was diners and cars around and people drinking and.
I'm not sure why they had a forest. In Loki, it was portrayed almost exclusively as a desert because the idea is just it's a place where, like, the entropy of the universe happens, and there's just a dragon that acts as the TVA's bin that gets rid of things they don't want. But some stuff survives and tries to start like a resistance, so to speak, but there's just not much to do. They can't escape. I thought it was such a retarded move to make it so the sling rings can get you out of the void. That makes no fucking sense at all with the amount of sorcerers.
That was a convenient bit of scripting, wasn't it?
Good lord.
The dragons seemed very easy to get away from too, because it seemed to just move in one direct line. And just because when they took off, I thought, oh, they're going to get chased by the smoke dragon, and no, they just avoided it.
Well, it just seems to always come back to the same place, as far as I know.
Yeah,
it's lazy.
Weird.
As long as you don't stand in that one spot, you should be fine.
But because the thing that I keep wondering about is like, okay, if this is a repository for like entire universes that get pruned and destroyed, how can it fit onto one planet? Like, how can it just be like this place where the occasional, like, I don't know, bit of like, spaceship drops from the sky or whatever? Shouldn't it be like an entire universe unto itself? I don't know.
And the dragon's so small. The dragon's supposed to eat everything, yet it's smaller than the planets, and it's supposed to eat universes.
Yeah, and it's like an extra dimensional being. Why does it have to fly up to you and chase you? Couldn't it just I don't know.
Well, so I'll at least give the movie that those are Loki problems, but they had a shit ton of their own problems in this movie on top of that. Because the dragon was always retarded in Loki.
I will say there was one quite fun cameo where you think it's going to be one person from the MCU, and it turns out to be someone else from the Fox.
Yeah, that's a good twist.
Universe. I just thought that was actually quite funny. I'll give them that. And
even with the accent too, is it like a Boston accent he uses or something? I did like.
Yeah. And like for anyone who finds him quite annoying in real life, it's like, well, you get quite a satisfying resolution there.
What accent was it going for? It wasn't. Oh, I don't think it was Bostonian. It sounded almost like Caribbean or something. I might figure it out. But, yeah,
I think it's all about someone else.
Oh, am I thinking of a different one?
I don't think he has.
Yeah. Imagine that, like a very famous MCU character and another character from an earlier franchise played by the same actor. You know who I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He gets an end
First
credit
person to
scene.
meet in the void.
So yeah, this void place was kind of like the restaurant at the end of the universe from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, combined with Fantasia with the Gamork from the Neverending Story. It was just such a weird place to be.
And yeah, I don't really get the antagonists. Like their whole plan is, or their whole like motivation is like, I really like being in this place, and so I just want to annihilate all the universities and just live in this desert wasteland thing where I've got a giant smoke dragon chasing me permanently. It really feels more like a person who should have been imprisoned there and wants to get out and wants to wreak havoc on the universe and then take control of it. So yeah,
she also kind of forgets about her brother, because that's the main reason she kind of gives them the way out. But then, like, she goes at the very end, "Oh, I'll just, I kind of forget about him," when she does her plot.
I would have liked to. I don't know. Could we?
It's so bad, dude. I don't know how much we can explain without spoiling it. Like her motivations just fucking switch on a dime, and she practically acknowledges that.
It had a bit of the acolyte switching there on stage. I hate the all powerful enemy, the all powerful bad guy that just there's no way to beat them in it. I like more of a realistic bad guy. But then the reason they survive, that really pissed me off. Just sort of the remembering the brother, and then like you said, that just goes out the window 5 minutes later.
So yeah, I remember how much I want to kill him. That would have been something.
The villain as well. Like I don't think the movie was ever entirely clear. Do bullets work on them? Can they be physically harmed? Because it seems like at times they can, and then they just kind of get better, and it's fine. And I'm not really sure.
There's an answer to that question, but do you want me to be explicit about it or not?
I mean, I think you need to be vague for the benefit of chat.
The abilities of this person would be incredible telekinesis and hyperregen.
Right. Okay. So, like, with the power of their mind, they can heal themselves. And if they were blocked,
so much more I would like to say, but I probably can't for spoilers.
Right.
In a film like this, don't you need more of a scenery-chewing kind of villain rather than a knockoff Tilda Swinton, who was just kind of serviceable?
I thought that's what she was.
I don't know if is it the actress who's not quite given enough, or is it just like they're not fleshed out enough as a character? But yeah, I get it. Like, you've essentially got TVA guy and her, and they're not great in terms of villains who are charismatic and interested and who test the heroes in some way.
We're practically 50-50 in chat of spoil it, don't spoil it. Sorry, folks. It's only been out for like a day. We can't spoil it.
I know it's a bit shit to do that to you, and we're trying to be vague here. But yeah, I'm sure we can discuss it more like on another open bar.
And to be
you
clear,
should have
like
a point of the stream where you can just let loose. Like once
maybe we can do that. Yeah, watch the view count plummet.
Enjoy this. Would I recommend it? The answer is probably no, but at the same time, it wouldn't. Like it, you probably will like it. The average person, I think, is going to like it. It's already doing really well in the box office, right?
Well, it's changing quite a bit though. Like in terms of the major outlets, the numbers dropping quite a bit across those things.
They were predicting like a $300 million opening weekend for this one.
Yeah,
which is.
But were you guys laughing during the film?
I did a few times, and it was mostly at the jokes at Marvel's expense.
I did like the joke about Fox when he finds out. Again, I don't want to spoil the joke, but it's near the beginning. He finds out he wants to tell Fox where to go.
Yeah,
I did that. I probably laughed the most.
There is a joke at DC's expense as well, which it involves a cameo, and it just it made me smile a little bit. Like, I thought that was quite good.
Certain little lines, like when the evil character just mentions flicking my bean to an in your box set, lines like that.
I did laugh at that.
And yeah, like all the different like versions of Wolverine that you get to see like during the montage where he's trying to find the right one. That was pretty good. It's like having a bit of fun with it again. There's elements of the movie.
One Wolverine.
We can at least talk about that in relative detail, right? Because that's right at the beginning.
Which one, sorry?
That sequence you're talking about. Can we at least talk about a bit more of that in detail?
Yeah, I'll allow it.
I think the whole thing's been on Twitter anyway.
The thing I want to talk about is not like you can decide how much you want to spoil beyond this, but I was going to say, so the first thing Deadpool decides to do is go and try and get Logan from the end of Logan. He wants to dig him up, and he says he's got regeneration, dumbass. Like he doesn't just die. And then the joke is, oh, he's dead. Shit.
Yeah.
Deadpool at this point has the power to travel through all of time and space and the multiverse, and he's like, damn it, he died. Do you say no? He doesn't.
No, he can't travel through time, can he?
Yes, he can.
Well, you can't change time.
Yes, he can.
I thought you could just jump from multiverse to multiverse.
He's got the Time Variance Authority's device that allows you to travel through all of multiverse and all time.
Wasn't Loki have to do it at she had to hide in events like when people died, like Pompeii and catastrophes and stuff. Because I thought like you couldn't change time, or is that just
yes, Pompeii? Don't you think she'd have to travel back to get to Pompeii?
No, I know that, but you can't change time. So like you could visit them, but you couldn't.
She can change time, but then the TVA would need to stop you. That's what the whole thing was.
I'm kind of a bit rusty on the rules.
Take, for example, going back in time and killing Hitler, the TVA would turn up and stop you. This is the jokes people made about Loki being so shit. It's like they have to ensure particular events take place, especially big ones. The reason why she was in Pompeii hiding is because you can do anything in an apocalyptic event and it likely won't change the timeline. Take, for example, if Drinker went to Pompeii and farted and then left, it's not going to do anything.
I would do that as well.
However, if he farted,
post-kebab farts are pretty brutal, man. I don't know what to tell you.
But if he farted in like on screen for during an event that was hugely televised, it would probably change events. So the TVA would have to go back and stop him from doing that. And so, yes, Deadpool has access to all of time and space and the multiverse, and he can't figure out that he needs this Logan, and he's like, damn it, he died. Well, that's it. I can't do anything about this, Logan. Maybe go back.
Yeah, but he used his corpse as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was purely in service of that intro.
Yep.
That was all it was. It was just for a gag of him like, oh, isn't it funny? He's using his fucking adamantium skeleton as weapons to kill people so we can have the credits sequence.
The setup for why he needs Logan really annoyed me too. Just that seems so lazy and
well, I mean, it's predicated on the bad guy basically saying, here's my evil plan. I'm going to destroy everything that you love. But you get to live if you'll join me. Want to join me?
The reason it's all getting destroyed is because Logan's virtually Jesus. Like, it's so important what happened to him is that the whole planet's about to go, the whole universe.
I don't even know.
Like when they put that much focus on one character, you just think, well, how important are they? Like,
it's pure. It's hard now to separate the meta from like this actual movie because at a certain point I'm like, this is literally just Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman like dicking around and having fun. You know, like that's all it is. And I think so much of the I guess the comedy and even the more dramatic moments towards the end they don't feel like two characters talking to each other. It feels like two buddies talking to each other. You know, that line from Deadpool to Wolverine, like I've been waiting years for this team up, and you were always the best Wolverine. And I just thought that's just him talking. That's just Ryan Reynolds talking. But it feels like he really means it, and it's like, okay, I'm finding it difficult now to separate the characters from the actors because they're so entwined at this point. And it is just like, this is something they've clearly wanted to do for a long time, and they finally found the reason and the justification to do it. And this is what you get, I suppose. Clearly they're having fun.
I was trying to get into the spirit of that, but I still just couldn't quite get there. Like all the meta stuff and the complex structures were elaborate without necessarily being witty or clever. It just complicated. And I don't know. It would be cool if archaeologists were excavating Pompeii and they found a mosaic where in the corner of the sky there's some figure that appears with his buttocks delivering a fart.
Buttocks unclenched, just farting away. I think, we were talking about the jokes earlier, like nothing signals like death in a movie like this more than trying to push an unfunny joke, and it does happen quite a bit in this. where it's like, okay, it's not that funny to begin with, but wow, you're just going to keep going with this. And it's like 15 seconds later, 20 seconds later, and it's like you're still trying to push it. It's not really working. And I feel like the first movie didn't succumb to that so much. Like it was fairly rapid fire, and it would move from one gag to the next and just kind of keep going. Whereas with this one, and I think the second movie did it to some extent as well, but this one's really bad for it. And it's just like, why are you doing this? It just feels like a sloppy script from a gag point of view, and it's just not what I expected from Deadpool.
Like one of the things I think a lot of people would enjoy, and I think I would have been fine with it for maybe one reference, would be references to how Wolverine will be here for the next million years. He's going to be playing him till he's 90. Yeah. I can't help but think about how when Logan was made, and the respectful comments made by the director, obviously the actors, the nature of the character, what it meant to culture, and then to be like, okay, that's it, hanging him up, we're done. And then this film's like, that's a thing that happened, but fuck it. And then to keep on pushing over and over again, gonna run you into the ground, gonna use your corpse until you can't even fucking walk, gonna do this, gonna do that, and then doing it. I see this the same as Girls Get It Done, and then doing that. Like you can't make fun of the concept, but then also just do it.
Yeah, but do you think they will ever do it again, or was this just it? Really though? Do you think they would do like Deadpool 4 and like the two of them will reunite again?
Worried. I'm hoping this film doesn't make enough money to convince them that they need to make a Deadpool and Wolverine franchise. That'll make me sad.
I honestly don't think Hugh Jackman would be up for it.
No. I didn't think Hugh Jackman would be up for this film.
Yeah, I could see it as
said as much at one point, but never mind.
Yeah, it kind of felt like a guy doing a favor for his buddy, and wanting to work with him, and now they've done it, and it's like they've got it out their system, and that's kind of it. Like that's what I hope and what I assume their mindset is with this. It's like, okay, we did it, we had a crack at it, and we've made it work to some extent, so that's it.
He can only take so many steroids in his life before he dies. So,
yeah. I mean, I will say, like he's still fucking jacked. Like he's still in shape for this. Like
they made a joke about him letting himself go since the divorce, but I think isn't it normally the opposite? He's probably going to be as fit as he's been in years now. Then he's had a divorce. He's back on the market. So
I do wonder if there's an element of like midlife crisis going on, where it's like. He's divorced and he's in his 50s now, and he's like, I just need to prove that I can still do it. It's like hit the gym and like get the shirt off. Like, yeah, I've still got it, baby.
Did you guys find
no one does intensity better than him though? Like
this is the thing. Like even in the shittest of X-Men movies, I feel like Hugh Jackman always brought his A game to it. Like he always committed 100%, and he's kind of the same here as well. Like he gives it his all, and. This is what I was going to say to you guys as well, like because I brought this up when I gave my initial thoughts on the movie. It feels very much like a love letter and kind of a goodbye, not just to like the superhero movies of the 2000s, like those pre-MCU ones, maybe that either didn't quite work or, they've kind of been overshadowed in later years by like the juggernaut of the MCU. But in some ways, like maybe a goodbye to just superhero movies in total. Like I could see this almost as being like, yep, this is it. We've reached the point of just parodying it. We're just bringing out some of the old favorites, giving them a goodbye. And that's kind of it. Like we've got nothing left. This is as far as the genre can go, I suppose.
Well, doesn't he say
if they actually did that? But the chance of doing that is zero, but it would be a nice send-off.
Well, doesn't he keep going like multiverses just don't work? Stop making it when he's seen all the just before the final fight.
Yeah,
he just hates them.
Straight up. Well, yeah, I mean he's saying that, and he's like he was very like very open about the fact that like this is the low point of the MCU. Like it's in dire straits right now, and that's clearly not going to change. Like this movie, however successful it is financially, and I'm sure it'll do quite well. It's not going to change the trajectory of the MCU. I don't think anyone's going to be then excited for the next Marvel movie after this because it's so different from the MCU. It's not been folded into it or anything. And like I said earlier, it doesn't have anything really, apart from mocking it occasionally, it doesn't really have much to say about the MCU in general. It's more focused on the X-Men movies, the older like 2000s superhero flicks. And that's kind of it. And it feels like a very much a nostalgic goodbye to all of that. And maybe saying, hey, this stuff, considering how shit we've got it now, maybe this stuff's like worth a little bit more of your time. You know, maybe they had some good ideas back then. And you should give it
that would have been
more respect.
That would have been great in spirit, but they kind of couldn't quite stick the landing, because then they have a 20-minute sequence, which is the most generic finale, which we all kind of dislike about the superhero genre, where it became super conventional towards the end, and so they couldn't quite stick the landing in that way.
I was surprised where the ending was set. Like after all that, we ended up in basement's not wrecking anything, I suppose, but just where it was actually set and what was happening after all that was like a little bit more thought could have gone into this.
Yeah, well, at least it wasn't a skybeam.
Why was it
yeah,
set
that's
in
true.
a subway?
What's that, Reaper?
Why is the device, the big device from Paradox, why was that in a subway?
I genuinely don't know. I think it's just so they could have a fight in like a normal looking city, like a street.
It's like they built that set and just went, oh, shit, where are we going to put this thing? Just put it over there.
You need these like two beams of like weird stuff. And it's like, why do you have them in a New York subway?
That end felt so rushed.
Yeah, it did. But I mean, did you guys find? I thought the third act generally was awesome. I started to sort of pick back up and get into it. But did you guys find the first and second acts are mostly a slog?
I like I was saying earlier, I found the first 15 minutes or so a bit of a slog, because it just kind of felt directionless, and it's like, well, where's this all meant to be heading? Particularly when Wolverine's not in it. Like once he shows up, it kind of moves into a higher gear, and it's like, okay, the movie's found its rhythm a little bit, but before that, it was struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of convenience, and there's a lot of like padding to some extent, and maybe doing the same things over and over again, which kind of contributes to a fairly bloated runtime, which is just didn't need. Like I think you could have done this 15-20 minutes shorter easily.
Yeah. So I had fun overall, I guess, but it was kind of a missed opportunity, and it kind of fell flat. But I'd recommend people go see it, because you're going to get some genuine laughs, and there's some cool stuff, and it's just cool to see these guys on screen, even if it's a little sort of compromised and flawed and limited and might frustrate you at moments. It's still a good watch.
I think it's better than anything you're likely to get from Marvel, well, ever now. Like this is probably it. This is about the best it's going to get.
Well, what's
for what
next?
It's worth. Captain Black America,
Falcon.
man.
Oh yeah.
That's all you.
The fucking cursed movie that's cost like $700 million to make and has been reshot about 12 times.
That's
what no one likes. It's because all that reshooting, they're going to take everything out of it. And it's going to be the most inoffensive, bland, generic movie.
And it's a movie no one cares about, no one wants really, and it feels like if it had been made for like $100 million, like super efficient and lean, it might have stood a chance of generating a profit. This, like for what it is though, no fucking way. It's gonna have to make like $1 billion just to break even.
It ain't getting that.
No.
But we do have Agatha next. Is it next month? Agatha, fucking piece of shit. It was like 5 titles it's had.
Yeah, no, again, no one gives a shit. And it's like, how much did that cost? How many times has it been reshot? It's just going to get dumped. It's going to get sharted out onto Disney Plus. If they've got any sense, they'll put it out all as one go and just like get over it as quickly as possible and then move on. But anything could happen at this point.
I don't think they have anything. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think you're wrong, because they played the Green Day song over the credits, and we all know that's a sign that's the end of everything. That's the end of the series now. Because whenever that song's played, that just shows that, Seinfeld, all the greats ended on that song. I was quite surprised they used it again.
This is what I mean, though. This movie feels like this could just as easily be the farewell of this entire genre. Like, obviously, it's not going to be. They're still going to keep shitting out more movies and more TV shows, but it's probably the last movie that anyone will have any real interest in, and it's purely because of like who's in it. But that's kind of as far as you can go with this genre. And like when people talk about the stages of a genre, when it's like the development phase, the golden era, and then like moving into parody and subversion, this is where we're at. We've reached the end point. We're parodying it. We're just making fun of it now, and that's really as far as you can take it.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a contemporary film. It felt like this was evoking a different phase and time in my life where the superhero genre was paramount. And so, yeah, it didn't feel like a contemporary film. It was in a strange kind of way.
I just, it's an unbelievable missed opportunity as far as I'm concerned. The script could have been a banger. The amount of points they could have made and how refreshing it could have been. And I don't know, like hearing about how it feels like a lot of it is giving respect and an ending to the Fox series. Like I fucking wish they'd done that instead of just having people show up. I don't even know what happened to a lot of those characters.
Do you think this was studio interference? Do you think Marvel?
I think they had many different things cut out. If you look at the trailers, you can tell. And it was such a shame that take the diner scene. Practically the whole fucking scene is in the trailer. We didn't get anything new in terms of the meaningful content between Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's past halfway. And that's when I was like, oh God, like we're actually not going to get much at all, when the whole film could have been a really great introspection on who Logan is and what the worst parts of him could become if they were to be focused. And what that means as a legacy of his character in relation to the meta of X-Men, considering he became the face of it in the movies when he absolutely wasn't in the source necessarily. Like there's so many other characters, right? And there's something to say about the X-Men, the Fox endeavor, and what it meant to everyone else. And then I enjoy the idea of respecting all those components that led to Iron Man, that led to the MCU, that led to where superheroes are. But I just don't think it's like they knew to have them. They contacted the actors. The actors agreed to play the characters. They wrote one or two self-aware pieces of dialogue, and then they were like, and then they fight, and ... I haven't got anything else, which is such a shame. I would say No Way Home is still unbeaten on this front for the MCU for using the multiverse and making Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield have incredibly meaningful roles, considering their prior roles, obviously being that Tobey offers the most sage, like wisdom and maturity of the Spider-Man, while Andrew gets to sort of get his second chance at making up for his mistakes, and Tom gets to learn from both of them. I don't think we're ever going to beat that at this point because the MCU writers are not capable of doing anything even remotely okay. But Deadpool mainly just did what I find is the worst, which is, hey, you like them, don't you? And I was like, yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
Go.
There was even a moment
they should have done like the first season of Grand Tour and just remember they'd have a celebrity arrive and kill them before they even got into the tent.
Yeah.
Just have, Miss Marvel or someone turn up and just splatter against the wall before they even get to say anything.
Well, they sort of did that with X-Force in Deadpool 2, didn't they? Where like they all parachute in and they get killed immediately, in a variety of gory ways. So again,
man, I have trouble remembering that film. I was going to try and watch it the night before I went to see this, and I didn't have a chance because I thought I cannot remember that film.
I've got the same problem with the Venom movies because, like, when I was walking into the cinema today to see this movie, I saw the trailer for Venom 3. And I'm like, what the fuck even happened in the first two Venom films? I can't remember a single thing about them. It's like Tom Hardy's in it. That's about the best I got. Yeah. That's all I got. And it's like they're making a third one. Why? Who wants to see it? What's it even about? It's bizarre. Like
a big stand up to a character no one knows.
Yeah.
And they gave
because it's like The Last Dance, like pretending it's like this fucking phenomenon that everyone loves. Like, oh man, I can't believe this is the end of Venom. Like, no one even cared in the first place.
Oh, Venom. Everyone's just crying.
There's a little moment in this film where Ryan Reynolds, we're coming down from the third act and about to go into the pointless, redundant fourth act or second, third act. And he literally mugs at the camera and says, sorry, folks, we're almost there. And I felt a little solemn about that because, I'm not in on that joke, and I don't know why he is.
I mean, dude,
why we're doing this.
Half the jokes are like, hey, isn't this a thing that we don't like happening that's happening right now? And I'm sort of confused. I'm like, yeah.
Well, I took it as like almost his acknowledgement of like, yeah, this film's been going on for a really long time, and it's like you're wanting to know that we're close to the end now. We are. And my reaction again was just like, yeah, this film does feel quite long, and I'm kind of ready for it to end now. So
yeah,
just get on with it.
It's like an orchestra that's like playing that last chord, and it just keeps going, and you never get to actually to the end of the piece. What else was I going to say?
Did anyone like a tiny Wolverine?
It made me chuckle.
I thought that was funny.
Comic accurate Wolverine.
When they were going back and showing in that package, and they kept going back, and he was fighting different ones in different heights, and they didn't go back to the little one. I was quite disappointed. That's the fight I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Just stepping on him.
I didn't think there was anything inventive about the carnage. I was kind of like wishing for something where it's like an offshoot of like Final Destination, where this causes this carnage to happen, and then this causes this inadvertently to happen here, and so you get some inventiveness to the fights. But no, it was just carnage.
I mean, there's a good amount of gore, I suppose, which is what I'd expect from a movie like this. Like, I don't know.
There was lots of testicle shots, and you've got to appreciate that. That's every time a blade goes into the nuts, it's or the ass, you feel it.
There's two, like there's a point where it's like there's a Wolverine claw in two guys, and he's like pulling them in either direction. Like, that's pretty good.
That hit right at my maturity level, that one.
Well, what about when he's getting changed to the TVA? And he keeps like putting the clothes on him and feeling his dick and then feeling his ass and feeling his dick.
Yeah, he keeps slapping his arse.
He goes, yeah, this suit's great, but yeah, your dress is a predator. You know, you want to do something about him. And walks off.
But Deadpool's supposed to do stuff that throws, that disrupts stuff in a funny way, and then he's supposed to like put his fingers over his mouth and go, like I did that in a kind of fun way, and then you don't quite get that element of his character in this in any kind of way.
I think, God, there could have been this movie where he actually interacts with the Avengers and was just taking the piss out of them the whole time.
I don't buy for a fucking second after Deadpool 1 and 2 that he would want to join the Avengers. Not at all.
That's the bit of the setup that I didn't like, was how devastated he was that he didn't get
it. Ruined him.
No, I guess what I'm saying is like it would be easy to engineer a scenario where he's just like dumped into an adventure with these guys and like he doesn't want to be there necessarily, but like he could just absolutely like mock them relentlessly. But either because they couldn't afford to get the actors in or what, I don't know. But like
the setup would have been so much more fun if he did get in. But then even he slept in on the day of their first, he was meant to be there the first day or something, or he completely fucked up what they were doing at the time. But just to not be part of the team, and that changes his whole life, that annoyed me. It's just so much, they could have done so much more with that. With all that time they spent with the interview that he failed, because that just dragged.
Yeah, very strange.
Wait, didn't they talk about the sacred timeline? And isn't Loki like a giant time tree? What's the sacred timeline if he's a tree of time?
Even watch
whatever the hell
Loki
that was.
season 2.
Yeah, he became like the core of all time and space, controlling everything.
What the hell's the sacred timeline then? If it's just Loki's hair.
Well, so that's the thing. They drew from the most incoherent part of the MCU, the TVA. I don't know why they thought in a million years they should even touch it, especially when Deadpool 2 ends with giving them the access to Wolverine. He has the device from Cable. Just use that. Why the hell did you use the TVA?
I think they just had the sets ready to go. It was the cheapest thing they could put together.
Deadpool 2 ends, right? Deadpool 2 ends with him going to X-Men Origins Wolverine, shooting himself as Deadpool in that movie, then saying to Logan, "We should team up." It's like it's right there. The whole movie can just start from there, but instead we do all this nonsense with the TVA. Who, funnily enough, the projector broke when I was watching it, and the audience said, because after about 10 minutes of waiting for it to be fixed, someone said, like, "How you enjoying the movie?" just out loud, which I thought was kind of fun. And some people were just saying different comments, and one of them said, "I don't really get all the TFA thing. What is that?" And I was just sitting there like, yeah, who the fuck? People aren't gonna. There's reviewers who don't even know what it is, like because they didn't watch this Loki because it was awful. Like, I don't know why they bothered including it.
I like how you casually said the projector broke after saying how much you were hating it, and in my head I'm just seeing you like just throwing something at the projector, or
I mean, just focusing all is like fucking being on just like destroying that movie.
Well, I'm a bit sour because I really wanted to like I was ready to really love this, but it was all wrong. They fucked everything up, and I was like.
Just admit it, MauLer. You hate art and you can't enjoy anything. We all know it.
Well, I mean, I like Deadpool 1 and 2. I guess I don't like anything new except The Gentleman and Shogun and House of the Dragon.
They got some of the spirit of camp and kitsch in Deadpool that I like coming out in a slow motion thing to a Madonna song, stuff like that. So they got just enough of that.
I kid you not, I've had that fucking Madonna song in my head all day, and I can't shift it. It's still playing right now while I'm talking to you guys. Like, it's just stuck there, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to do. But
it's like the screaming of the lambs.
when you play it, have the younger version of Madonna in your head. Don't have the new version.
Yeah, that's
true.
It's the meme going around. It's like no one could have predicted that in 2024 Roseanne Barr would look hotter than Madonna.
Did you see she got back to that Roseanne?
She responded. It's like, I fucking did.
That was great.
That's pretty good, yeah. Well, anyway, that was Deadpool.
Can I say one more thing before you move on?
Yeah.
Is it Daphne Keane? Is that how you say her name? That was also in The Acolyte that's in this? The young girl?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a year she's had. Like, how lucky can she be that, because people are going to, in general, love this film and say great things. Imagine coming out of The Acolyte and then you have this. What's she going to remember from this year, do you think? How her year went?
I will just say, I think it's interesting that she completely lost her Mexican accent. And now she just talks like a regular old American in this movie.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, but like she's just like, fuck it.
She's British in The Acolyte, right? That's the accent.
No, she is actually, yeah. I mean, she could do the British accent okay, I suppose, but yeah.
Did you think that she was something bizarrely off about her performance? She seems so strangely kind of stilted. It's like these are the best takes we could put together of her. There was something weirdly kind of disassociated about her performance.
I don't think she doesn't get enough screen time, I suppose, to really bed into the character, which is a shame because, like, her and Logan, obviously there's a massive history there from the previous movie. I'd like to have seen them do more. I don't know, man. Maybe she just was a bit rusty with playing this character.
It did feel like they only had him for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
People are saying in chat she is. Sorry.
I was just going to say, they should have got a Logan from a universe where she died and he lived. And then you could have played them off.
Good shit, yeah. Like he failed her or something.
Yeah, it's Logan. So it's the Logan we know, but Daphne dies instead of him.
That's not bad, actually. Yeah.
Because my brain did a bit of that when they first saw each other. I thought, this is going to be emotional, because I forgot for a second but then he didn't know who she was. But I thought that was going to happen for a second.
And I think a lot of it relies on the meta of like, oh, well, we know these two actors played off each other in Logan like 5 years ago. So like just seeing them together is kind of cool. But then that's the meta. It's not the movie itself that's doing that work. It's you and your knowledge of the larger universe. But yeah, people in chat are pointing out as well, she apparently is British.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Fuck a doodle do. I never would have pegged it, but there you go.
With the cameos, when they're all in a minivan that they hate and they arrive at a certain location blasting away, the one through the sunroof looks a bit lost for a minute when the car stops. Like they didn't tell him what to do next. And he gets a bit lost, I think. It's been a while since he's played the part.
Yeah. But that scene around the campfire was so odd because it was just such a pure dramatic scene. It was like it's from a different film. And it was just kind of like inserted in there,
That's the thing. The movie does occasionally verge into drama that it wants you to take super seriously, but then, like at a key moment, it might undercut it with like a piece of like really goofy humor and
like it's all that whole scene was in the trailer. You don't get more,
no,
except him explaining his sordid history, which turns out is kind of lame.
Yeah,
it's like I don't want to say it just in case people are going to go see it, but I'm going to be honest with you. When it was like the worst of the worst Wolverines, I was like, oh god, okay, what's the background there?
To not describe it too much to the chat, basically his sin is just one of omission, not something that he overtly kind of did wrong. So
like I don't want to explain it too because this is too spoilery, I think. But I was so disappointed with the way they did the character.
Because I could imagine the worst Wolverine being like a guy who goes feral and just fucking kills everything around him. Yeah. Like that's as bad as Wolverine can get. This one's
or a
just
flat
like
earther. He just does that. He's the worst one. Doesn't believe in climate change or anything.
This one's just a bit of a fuck up. Like that's all he is.
Yeah,
but like because it's in the trailer, so this isn't as much a spoiler. But when he says, "I'm not like the right guy or whatever," or "I'm the wrong guy," and then she says, "You are the wrong guy until you're the right one." I don't know why that would make any difference to this Wolverine at all. It's some girl that he has no connection or knowledge of.
It's because it sounds cool, MauLer.
Well, that's what I meant by pandering. I felt like they gave us, it's like, drama scenes. This is how they go. And now the character will do a different thing. It's like, okay, I guess.
That's as powerful a line as she's delivered since those who do not study the past. And then she says, are doomed to repeat it. In the acolyte.
Whoa.
An acolyte of culture, I see. Anyway, shall we just before we move on? I just wanted to do a few super chats that came in while we were going. The first one is.
By the way, good morning, Robot Head.
Oh, thanks. Just put me on the spot there and just stop the show dead. But hello.
It's like you've been here for an hour, but it's like, oh,
yeah.
Could be a great.
Did you just notice me? That's the impact I have.
This one's
you have to wipe the screen.
What's that?
He has to wipe a screen. It's all white and blurry.
The first super chat I've got here is from Patient Elijah. It says, Drinker, sorry for asking this super chat question for the third time, but I couldn't find a response to the previous ones. Have you finished Attack on Titan? And if not, where in the story are you? So I'm approaching the end of season 3 at the moment. So I haven't seen, apparently there's a big climactic speech that's given at the end of that season. I haven't seen that yet, but I took some time off to watch Kingdom, which is fucking brilliant. I really like that show. So I kind of blasted through that, and then I'm going to get back to Attack on Titan. But I will get around to watching it and finishing it off. Barry McCockiner, which is a great name. He's one of our members, says, hey lads, any of you seen the pro-Hamas guys burning the American flag and vandalizing in DC? I've saw a bit of that. Brutal stuff, I suppose, but I guess that's what they're doing there. It's it's up to the local police or whatever to police that.
He started with such a funny name, and then he went all serious on us.
I know, you're going all political. Jeff Romadix says, MauLer, thanks for the EFAP on Hello Greedo. Used to be a fan of his. He made a career out of shitting on the prequels and its fans, but tries to deny that while defending Disney Star Wars.
Many such cases of YouTubers who shat all over the prequels, who were then like, finally, Disney saves us. And then when it went to absolute horseshit, which to be fair was kind of from TFA onward, they've been trying to maintain, no, the prequels was still the worst thing to happen to Star Wars. It's like, they would. We all know that. It's well over at this point. But yeah, thank you.
I'm8566 says, Rogue Element's happy hour with the cast and crew. Those behind-the-scenes videos are getting me very excited. Wow, well, excellent. Yeah, I've got a few more on the way, actually. We're going to release them each week, basically, until the movie comes out.
The second one popped up in my feed yesterday, and I watched that, and it was very interesting. I like the guy with the gun safety after the Baldwin case. It was
I know, yeah. They took that stuff really serious on set.
Oh, yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So we don't want a repeat of that. Yeah. But yeah, that was purely like on the rare occasions where they used blank rounds. But like most of the time they use gas guns, and so they're perfectly safe. You can do whatever you want with them, but they look and move like real guns, and then you just put in muzzle flash and stuff in post-production. So it makes it a lot easier and safer for the actors to do that sort of thing. So fair enough. Yeah.
What's Rogue Element's length now? Is it still a featurette, or is it a full length?
No, so it's probably about 44 minutes, I think. And the last cut of that I saw. So cool. not a feature length film or anything. It's a short film, basically. It's more like I guess see it as like an episode of TV or whatever.
What's it like when the characters you've invented in your mind and you go onto a set and things are 3D and you're in the environment of your own book? What is that like?
I had some kind of existential crisis while I was there. I didn't really understand where I was or anything.
Walking through your own words.
Passed out and woke up in a pool of my own urine. But no, it's you're so caught up in the minutia of what's going on, and like people are asking you like, well, how would this character do this thing, or like we need to change this thing in the script. How do we do it? and so your overriding priority is like, I hope I don't fuck things up too badly while I'm here. You're not really taking it all in. And so it's not until afterwards when you fly home and you're like, oh shit, that was a cool thing that I got to be part of and experience. So that was nice. But yeah, at the time, it's just kind of surreal, I suppose. There was a few times where the actor playing the main character, like Ryan Drake, came up to me and he was like asking me about all these like motivations that he would have at this point in the story. And I was like, shit, man, you're asking me to reference books that I wrote like 12 years ago. Barely remember them at this point. But no, it was cool. It was good fun. Wow. So anyway, I'll let people be the judges when the thing actually comes out. Sly Jester says, after Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't plan on seeing another superhero movie until they cast Sydney Sweeney as Power Girl. I can get behind that.
Does Power Girl wear clothing?
Hopefully not, in this case.
Unfortunately.
Paul Connolly says, hail Drinker, MauLer, and the whole panel. Drinker, you clairvoyant soothsayer. You must have known today is my birthday, as you got most of your favorite angry YouTubers together for this open bar. Cheers. Well, there you go.
Happy birthday.
Hopefully everyone's suitably angry. What was this? Casey Boyd. Going on my journey of classic movies, I watched Taxi Driver for the first time. A bit torn about the ending. You guys think the ending should have been fantasy or reality? Scorsese says that it's reality. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of see newspaper clippings and stuff that suggest that it is actually real, but I would have rather it was fantasy because it seems like an awfully happy ending considering everything that he did. I would rather it was just his like fantasy, and what actually happened is he died like in a pool of his own blood or whatever, but each to their own, I suppose. Next one. Will Dreamer says, another open bar and I couldn't be happier. The Acolyte is behind you, hopefully, and might soon be forgotten. Yes. I patiently anticipate the Drinker's next Firefly watch with MauLer. Savoring that show with both of you is an absolute joy.
Yes, we're desperately trying to figure out a day to do more of them because we've both been swamped with projects, but we will get to it at some point.
We were actually supposed to do it last weekend, but we ran out of time, unfortunately. But yeah, we've got it coming up. We've got 3 more episodes that we will do. So
as an apology, we will bring you more Boogie on Saturday.
Well, there's
I wish the Acolyte was behind me. I'm so behind. I've got a lot more to go.
Oh no!
I honestly, I'm very happy with the fact that like I've reviewed it, I finished it, and I'm just done with it now. And I was so relieved tonight that we weren't talking about it. And it's like, we can talk about new movies, new things. It's like a bit of a break from this because man, it's been fun to like make fun of it and meme on it. But Jesus, after like 2 months of this fucking show, I was glad for it to end.
Well, in my second episode review, I put at the end that, and that's it. I'm out. I'm done. I'm never touching the show again. I ended up doing another 5 videos on that.
There is one thing that came here. This is Captain Jean-Luc Bacardi, who says Tommy Wiseau has got a new film coming out. Let's go. Has he? Fucking hell. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I'm going to see it, actually. Let's see what he's got. So
Big Shot. Well,
that's what I've got here. Yeah,
I've seen him pushing that, but I didn't understand it was a new film of his.
I
don't know if that joke's is that joke gonna work again though? Like, isn't the whole joke that he didn't know you were gonna laugh?
Yeah, I don't want him.
Apparently, Best Fiends is meant to be quite good. That's where he's like with Greg Sestero. I heard that was actually, it was quite self-aware, but like it's almost like a commentary on their friendship and like the fact that they're kind of in this weird odd couple position of being like chained to each other in the public consciousness. But yeah, Big Shark, according to IMDb, that was out last year. So I don't know if there's something else that's coming up. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's lived out his 15 minutes, I suppose. Anyway, I'll do more super chats later, but I was going to go on and talk a little bit about Twisters, because I know only some of you guys have seen it, but the movie came out like a week ago. Probably horrendous timing because it's going to get squashed by Deadpool and Wolverine. But I thought it was kind of an interesting one because it's a movie that's surprisingly free of the message. Particularly, like the director himself actually came out and said People were expecting this to be like a commentary on climate change and stuff, with the formation of more twisters and like more extreme weather. And he just straight up rejected it and said, no, I don't want my film to be like some platform to lecture people on. I just want it to be about entertainment. And so it just kind of leaves all that stuff super vague. And I thought, what a crazy idea in modern Hollywood. I know.
So if that was like the studio, did they really, really want him in control of the project, so they let him make that decision? Or
I don't know if he was specifically chosen for this. I just know that was his mindset in terms of like what they wanted to put message-wise into the movie. It was just meant to be a fun disaster adventure movie that didn't really have a message specifically, as much as it's just about the characters trying to do their best to survive in this situation.
I haven't seen it because no Helen Hunt. Like, I'm a Helen Hunt purist, and if she's not in it, then I'm not interested. But is it connected to the first film at all?
Vaguely. So like the most you get is like a couple of references to like that machine Dorothy that like launches all the little sensors up into the tornado, but it never like talks about the events of the first movie or the characters. There's no cameos from the previous actors. It's very much a standalone sequel, really.
Did they bring back the actors for the tornadoes?
Yes. And they're very convincing.
Because of course broad plot is that the brother of the tornado from the first movie wants revenge, right?
I heard that a voodoo doctor actually like summoned up more tornadoes to go after like the children of the previous adventurers, but no,
there's a black tornado being blamed for all the white tornadoes' problems.
It was a strong female tornado.
No, it's a weird one in that it's a female lead. But she's not a complete unlikable bitch who just sets out to like prove all the men around her wrong. There's her male co-star who's not just a cowardly little asshole who has to get put in his place at every turning of the plot. He's actually kind of a pretty cool guy in his own right. And it felt like this weird throwback to a very different era of filmmaking. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, this is not a 2024 movie in any shape or form. And I don't know how they managed to make it happen like this. Whether this represents like a bit of a change of philosophy for Hollywood, or it's just a one-off, I'm not sure. But it made it a lot easier to enjoy, put it that way.
It's going to depend on how well it does. Because I think the budget's like 155 million, and which is quite a lot. If it does well, you might get more of them, but so far I think it's just a one-off, because these things take years, like films, so you don't even know if it will catch on.
Yeah,
and it's years away if you can tell.
I mean, I definitely don't want more movies of the Twister franchise. Like, I don't want Twister 3 or whatever. Yeah, it's like
Twist hard.
Yeah, like the Twisters are like going to take on New York or something. I don't know.
Twister
should put sharks in them.
Twisters.
Yeah. It does turn into a fire tornado at one point, because it like
that was Sharknado. They've done that.
Yeah, they've done it. Yeah. But at one point, it rolls over like an oil refinery or something, and it blows up, and so like the flames go up into the tornado, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Are there any cows flying around? Because I think that was like a feature from the first film. That was like a cow.
Yeah, that was the trailer. That's what everyone got everyone in, wasn't it? The cow in the going through the air.
Not in this one. I don't know. Is there any animals that go flying? There's a hen house at one point that hits their car. Right. Yeah, but
you just see people.
Yeah, a lot of people get sucked up by this thing, and like that's it.
Well, one of my favorite reviewers, Dan Murrell, he used to live in LA. Part of Screen Junkies, and now he does his own thing living in Arkansas. And he was saying that he was surprised that all the LA and New York based people were dumbfounded and confounded by the idea that this film was doing so well. And he was saying that no, that people in the Midwest and so-called flyover country, that they're actually a huge demographic, and this is a film made by people from the Midwest for people in the Midwest, and so there's been a huge surge of turnout from there, and it shows that there's a film that can appeal to their values and their interests. So I thought that was kind of cool.
There's quite a lot of I don't know how you describe it. Like there's a lot of sentimentality towards that culture of the Midwest. Like there's rodeos and stuff going on. Like there's a lot of like, big landscape shots of like
help each other out. Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
Of that.
So there's definitely that.
I don't know if it's the same for you guys though, but did they think that's just where the audience was? Because that film wasn't even advertised in Australia. I didn't see anything anyway. It just sort of snuck out.
Yeah,
it's like they didn't even think we'd be interested.
It's the same here in the UK. Like it seemed to get released to very little fanfare. But then
I didn't
you go
believe
watch
it was real for a while. When I can't remember who first told me about it, but I was like, so that's a joke. That's not a real film, obviously.
It feels like
even the poster looks like fake and made out,
Yeah, like it seems like a gag, and it's just like, oh, okay, there's like more twisters now, and they're bigger and more dangerous, and like humans have to fight them and stuff. It's not. It's a fairly pedestrian sequel. It doesn't do anything particularly like inventive or different or crazy or anything. It's just like having a bit of fun with its premise, like fairly likable leads. I think Glenn, what the fuck's his name again?
Glenn
Powell, yeah. He's likable enough. He's obviously like got quite a bit of charisma going on. So he's a decent enough lead to carry a film like this. And it's weird because like he is carrying the film, like the actress who's playing the Kate character. Not a huge amount to her, really, in terms of charisma.
Meteorologists seem to be models because you've got the new Superman who's a meteorologist. It seems to be the most attractive science of people. Because like there's no fat girls, there's no ugly men. They're all like models.
I did like the fact that he's a fucking YouTuber of all things as well. Like Jesus. So, and he's not like he's like a morbidly obese 50-year-old guy like in his basement.
It shows how much they be going into a studio with a sequel, because they must be just going through the VHS bins now looking for films that haven't had a sequel.
Yeah.
Films to get a sequel. But it just shows that like and Reaper, did you say it's $100-something million they got? So it's obviously very safe to go in with a sequel idea than an original idea.
Yeah, I mean,
55 for this.
Because Twister's like, I guess the original movie, okay, it was fun enough, but like, it's not like it had a huge cultural impact. It's not like, Alien or fucking Terminator or something like that, like where everyone remembers it. It's like just fairly forgettable, summer.
Well, there was a period of disaster movies because you had Pierce Bronson and like Lava. I can't remember what the film was.
Oh, Dante's Peak.
That's it. Yeah, you had a few of them, and then you had like 2012 where the entire world just dies somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Roland Emmerich, right? He come out every like 2 or 3 years.
Oh yeah, like Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow, yeah.
But there was so many
really cold for some reason.
There was so many we would have double ups.
Global warming.
But we'd have double ups, so there'd be 2 movies out about an asteroid killing the world, and then there'd be 2 movies out about earthquakes and 2 movies out about. So there was that many coming out. We were getting doubled up.
Yeah, Armageddon. I still stand by that movie as just being unironically fucking awesome for how stupid it is.
Ben Affleck, when he's talking in the commentary, where he's going, "Why is it easier to teach 2 drillers to be astronauts than it is astronauts to drill?"
Surely you just point at the ground and press on.
Did the director tell him to shut up or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the show.
3 or 4 years ago, where the moon is getting closer to the world and it's destroying the gravity and everything's getting.
Moonfall, right?
Moonfall, yeah.
Didn't that flop?
That was yes,
that flopped hard. Yeah,
and you got Independence Day Resurgence. He tried to do as well, right? Or
we're definitely on the nostalgia conveyor belt line. We're in the late 90s, early 2000s now, like Independence Day and then Twisters and then Mean Girls and all this stuff.
It's funny you said it because like I was thinking, do you think some of these scripts come along and they're like, oh, you got like a movie with people dealing with Twist? Oh, do we have anything we could just put this into as a franchise? It's like there was that movie Twist. People like that. It's like, yeah, fuck it. Instead of calling this movie whatever we were gonna, making it a new franchise, may as well staple it onto something people knew from ages ago. Maybe like I assume that's possibly how it goes nowadays because they really are scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I have these ideas for set pieces, and then they just think, yeah, we can set all that in that franchise that hasn't been around for 20 years.
Yeah, because like they would have been better off just making a new movie, I think, in this case, because the whole premise involves them doing exactly what they did in the first movie. It's like there's a twister, you need to get basically in its path and plant a machine that allows us to like scan the inside of it and stuff and learn more about it. And it's like, well, I thought that was the whole point of the first movie. Like, how much more do you need to learn about these things?
Yeah, you get tons of warning because like they're just sitting there and there's just no warning. A twister, which you'd feel the wind from miles away, suddenly just tears through the rodeo.
Because there's a really frustrating bit where like these scientists are doing their mission where it's like we're gonna get in front of it and plant our machines so that we can then like get all the data we need about it. And they're about to do it, and then they're like, this twister's heading for fucking no-name town in the middle of Hicksville fucking county. We need to go there and help the people. Like, really? Do we need to break off this like super important thing that we're doing right now? Like,
Just phone them.
Yeah, it's like, how useful do you think like 3 people in a pickup truck are going to be to like a town that's got hit by a twister? But it's like, no, we have to go there. We have to go there. It's super important that we have to help them. So like they abandon everything and just go there instead.
But no one
and
can
it's
see
just
this
to draw the movie out
gigantic
a little bit
twister.
longer.
This fucking massive twister no one can see coming. They have to wait till they get warned.
Reaper, you're doing that in your accent, saying, just phone them. Like, you don't do the obvious thing. That was beautiful.
And yeah, there's a bit of they have to find a way to defeat the twisters as well.
Well, did they try shooting it?
I thought they might try that. Like, it being America, like they'll just like launch like missiles at it or something.
If the bullets spun round and hit them, went, oh no, it's using our guns against us.
I think that was actually that was a joke in I want to say Don't Look Up, because that film was kind of a mess. But when the meteor's coming to Earth, I think Ron Perlman's character goes outside of his house with his gun and just starts shooting at it, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah. In this case, it's like some weird, I don't know, it's like a polymer material or something that apparently absorbs huge amounts of moisture, because apparently twisters are driven by moisture in the air. So if you can absorb that, it'll basically kill their momentum, and it'll just collapse.
What happens if it hit a giant sponge factory?
You know,
everyone get your sponges out.
I did think like when it hit that oil refinery and it's basically on fire, it's like, well, surely fire like gets rid of moisture pretty quickly. I don't know. Crazy.
They should have had a twister that was down on its luck and is feeling tortured about itself, but at the very end it comes back and it fights on behalf of the good guys.
It has to believe in itself, yeah.
Well, I mean, just for what you said, Drinker, it's like, oh no, it's hit the oil factory, then the fire factory, now it's in the razor blade factory. Oh god, it's in the acid factory. Now it's really bad.
It's hit the bullet factory and it's just like shooting like bullets everywhere.
They all get happy because it's heading towards the mattress factory, and then it switches to the other side of the road where the bullet factory is.
It's heading to the cream cheese factory. I don't know will this be bad? I don't know.
The fatties run out and try and grab it.
It's gonna be messy no matter what. But
this was like the pillow factory. They're like, well, I mean, you know, it's a pillow factory.
You could have had a Boogie cameo. You go, quickly get under his tits.
Or, you know, like, yeah, we have to like anchor yourself to Boogie, because like no tornado, even an F5 can't lift him because he's got too much mass.
And even if it does, he can flap his titties to fly where whatever direction he wants.
It's like Dumbo.
I am never going to get that image out of my head now, thank you.
They analyze the tornado. The tornado has tornado cancer.
We use like metal poles. You use them as like a gazebo. You just have his giant body stretched across you. Everyone under him, quick!
But yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this movie pans out now, because like I think it had a decent opening weekend, but like now Deadpool and Wolverine is probably going to hoover up a lot of the box office. The only thing it probably has got in its favor is that it's a family friendly kind of movie. Whereas obviously Deadpool and Wolverine is like a 15, so I don't know. Families. What
do you guys think about Deadpool and Wolverine's legs? Like after a huge opening weekend, do you think it's going to taper off quite a lot?
I absolutely misunderstood your question for a second there because I wasn't paying close enough attention. I was like, why does he want to know what my opinion of their legs are?
I did for the first few seconds there too. I was like, this is going in an odd direction.
I mean, you know, Hugh's been working out. He's got pretty big legs.
I thought they were like badly CG'd or something. I was like, did they not have legs in the film?
The little one's legs were short on Wolverine. They were smaller. I know that.
That's true, I guess.
But yeah, how do you see it playing out box office wise? I guess was Echo's question. Like, is it gonna have any longevity, or is it gonna die after the first weekend because people maybe won't have good word of mouth for it.
I think people are going to like it because I think normies don't give a fuck about all the problems and the setup and the story. Like, they just don't care. I don't think so. I think they're going to see the poster and go see it. But how many films have legs these days, though? Like, it's not like the old days. So,
Barbie and Oppenheimer last year had like crazy longevity.
Yeah, that's true.
And didn't Guardians 3 as well, so more closer to compare? That had legs somewhat.
Didn't correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they keep the Fall Guy in the cinema like longer than they probably should have, but it actually ended up doing pretty well? Like they essentially just like kept it on a certain number of screens and people kept going to see it in relatively small numbers, but it gradually ticked up the overall box office.
That's how they used to do it. Films used to be there for a year. Like some films took months to get going in the 70s and 80s, and they'd be a year later they'd take off. So
I'm just going to see.
I think it's just funny now that when a film comes out in the cinema and then it's on streaming 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, that failed. Jeez, like that's a definitive sign of that.
I'm going to retract my statement as well because it only grossed like 178 million worldwide. So yeah, it's a fucking massive flop. Regardless.
What film, sorry?
The Fall Guy.
All right. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a big old flop right there. But with Deadpool Wolverine, I think I tend to agree with you guys that there's not much competition right now, and people are just hungry for a summer box office event movie to go see. And it feels like this one has been so hyped up, they'll just keep going to see it regardless. I think it will do really well. Maybe it does.
Yeah.
Whether it deserves to or not, I don't know. But
yeah, I think.
Well, there's nothing really out. I mean, that Twisters and then Borderlands, which is 2 weeks.
Oh, that was rough.
I feel like that's going to fail miserably. Could be wrong.
That's getting but that's getting released in like the fucking August dump month. Like anything that comes out then, you can pretty much guarantee it's like they've got no faith in it.
Well, there's Borderlands in the 9th, The Crow the 24th, and Rings of Power 29th.
The Crow looks like shit.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I saw Borderlands and The Crow, both those trailers before Deadpool, and
man, we're so lucky.
Apparently, Borderlands is tested terrible from what I've heard.
Just the trailer's annoying enough.
The vibe I get is that everyone involved is embarrassed. That's all I'm getting from Borderlands.
I just, out of all the video games you could choose to adapt, why Borderlands of all things? Like, it's such a weird choice. It's so wacky. It's so like out there as a video game. I don't know why you thought you could bring that to live action and have it work.
And the casting, it's absolutely terrible.
So
like none of the like they have comedians, but you can't bring someone funny on and then give them a shit script. It's not going to work.
But I don't even know the game, and the casting looks dated. Like it looks wrong, and I don't even know the game, and it just to me looks completely wrong. What market are you going for with these?
The trailer just it wasn't funny in the slightest, and just it just felt cringe. And that's the best of what they've got as well. Like God knows what the movie's going to be like.
It's a shame the Kevin Costner film Western Epic didn't connect because he would have had this huge broad swath of free time, like this open goal to have tons of people come in with other few films to go see, but just didn't connect.
Too long. It was too long and it was too slow.
There is Romulus is coming right soon.
Yeah, that should be good.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for that again. Yeah,
hey, that one could be acceptable.
Yeah.
I think the best thing I'm hoping for, the best I'm hoping for with that is like it's a generic alien horror movie. I'm
begging them to have some characters, give them some journeys, please. Give me something substantive. I'm begging you.
The cast all look like they're under 25, which is just a fucking no-no in that universe. Like I want people who are actually interesting, played by like actual charismatic actors that look like they've lived a life instead of these fucking children that they put on screen.
Especially if you're in space. You're not going to have 25-year-olds in space. They're all going to be like veterans or like engineers and not fucking...
Also, the final trailer, I forget, are they like a team of thieves or something? And they're trying to...
So they go into like a station that's abandoned, like because they can swipe a bunch of gear from it before like the cops swoop in or whatever, and that's when it's full of like facehuggers.
I just don't want
the trailer we got. I didn't even know about that part of the story.
Yeah, it's a new trailer.
want cringe clumsiness, like people who literally do dumb things, like they slip up like a cartoon character in a pool of blood and fall on the ground. And like, I just don't want cringe, low-level dumb stuff like that.
Yeah, they think a face hug is a necklace. Go, ooh, look at this. Just wear around the neck.
Well, like there's a bit in it where like people are wading through like waist high water, and someone gets knocked over by a face hugger, or like he feels it brush against his legs, and he's like, "There's something in here with us," and like his buddy is like, instead of like reacting to it immediately, like, "Oh shit, we should get out of here," he's just like, "What do you mean? There's something in here with us?" Like really fucking slow on the uptake.
It's
like
it's like they're aware of what the
dumb
monster is and how
movie.
they need to act in order for it to be the most suspenseful.
Because
as long as they don't try and pat them or talk to them, or think they look cute, as long as they don't do any of that.
Vagina
They
snake
should have a
monster,
politically correct guy, and he goes, aliens. He goes, last time I told you, they're undocumented. He just have that.
They're enriching our culture, okay?
He's opening the doors, going, come in.
No, but compare that to the first Alien movie, where everyone made pretty fucking smart decisions. Like the characters were pretty savvy. They made logical choices based on what they knew at the time. That was great. That's what made effective horror, because it's like, oh, I can get behind these people because they feel like real human beings that would make the kind of decisions we would make. Instead
and
of every
death,
cannon fodder.
You feel for every death, going for the bloody cat Jonesy and someone dies, and like every death feels real.
Yeah.
They ended up in that situation because of, they were trying to do the right thing. So a bit of that wouldn't go astray.
Plus, it also works if you've got high sci-fi to have absolute veteran British stage actors, like in the original, to have John Hurt as Kane, but even better to have Ian Holm as Ash. That's still one of my favorite performances of all time. It's just
he's fantastic.
Purely chilling.
Yep,
it's unbelievable. That scene where Ripley is in that strange like the main like room where she's getting the information, and the camera just tilts and pivots a little bit, and you see him beside her. It's so chilling.
There's so many funny bits to that, though. Yeah. Like the fact that she's got a nosebleed, and like it's so inexplicable in the final cut, and then you find out like there was supposed to be a whole sequence where she gets locked in an airlock, and Ash tries to depressurize it, and like she just escapes. That's why she's got that. Like, but you kind of don't notice it at the time. It's just this weird, like, inexplicable moment. It's the same when he throws Ripley to the ground, and he's just stood there looking at her for a moment, and like the camera pans back, and what we find out afterwards is like the cameraman accidentally brushed against like a wind chime or something that was hanging there and started it moving, and Ash just kind of looks round towards the camera because the actor himself was looking at it like, what the fuck was that? And then he just goes right back to attacking Ripley, and it's great because it's just like it's weirdly inexplicable. But when
did we cover that on a catch up at one point? Because it's one of the most interesting fourth wall breaks in the history of movies to me, where the camera itself knocks a wind chime, and the character in universe is like, why is that wind chime moving? Anyway, it's like, wait, what the fuck?
Because you could probably interpret it as like, oh, it's just the ventilation system moving this thing, and he looks at it, he frowns for a second because he's like, his head's all fucked up at that point. I guess he's malfunctioning, and then he just goes right back to killing Ripley. But it's great. It's like disturbing. Well done.
Part of the horror of the film is not just the alien itself; it's the insidious element of the company. It's the company and Ash as a character. So that's what really builds up the genuine terror for me. And even Ash's weird sequence of rolling up that magazine, like in some weird kind of sexual connection for him of ideas of penetration, of trying to force that magazine down her mouth. It's so unsettling and weird. That itself is almost...
When I first watched it, one of the more haunting moments is Crew Expandable. Just watching the computer slowly display that, I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah. I think it perfectly does that structure as well of like horror movies like this, where you've got a group of people facing a threat. They try various things to try and counter it. Like they've got a plan of some sort. They face setbacks, they take casualties. And then there comes that point where everything just kind of disintegrates. Like we're all like semblance of being in control of the situation just disintegrates. And it's that point where Ash tries to kill Ripley and they have to take him out. And that's where they just go into pure we're getting the fuck out of here mode. Like, we're abandoning this plan. We're abandoning the idea of killing this alien. We just need to get to the lifeboat and get the hell out. And even that goes wrong. That's the final like disintegration of the group. And that's where you get into the great horror movie territory of just like one person left who's just like fighting for survival. It's good stuff. Like
the more we talk about it and go through scenes, the less hope I have for the next one.
Yeah.
I was thinking too about the magazine, how creepy that is. Like, he doesn't just choke her, and just little things like that. And mother, the messages coming from mother, and then you think they're not going to have anything like that in the next one. No. So,
well, I just saw an interview with Fede Alvarez and Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott, he's not quite there anymore. He's got a little bit of the Joe Bidens. He can't quite finish his sentences. He rambles a bit. Yeah.
Well, that's good for Gladiator 2.
Yeah. Why is he still making movies? Like, he's about 200 years old. He should have retired. Stop, Ridley.
Creative people have their peak. Like, no one gives a fuck about a new Rolling Stones album, or like, they have their time, you know, and that's great. Just the trouble is, you can't tour with aliens for the rest of his life playing the same movie over and over like bloody Stones can.
There's that apex, isn't there, of like experience and creativity and just like energy, and you reach a point where like they all max out, and then, you know, as you get older, maybe like your creativity starts to decline, your energy starts to decline, and like that's where you're just never going to improve beyond that. Even if you get more experience like Ridley Scott does, like you're not going to make the kind of movies that he was making in the 1980s. And
desperation they don't have anymore. You need that.
Do you think that Hollywood or the culture is still capable of producing films that create a visceral reaction from audiences? Like when The Exorcist came out, people were vomiting in the aisles and they had to run out. Or when Alien came out, people were terrified and shrieking. Is that still possible?
I think it gets harder.
Well, look at The Boys. That's got like cocks and people eating asses and over-the-top sex and violence, but it's like, that's just normal.
Yeah. I think Cobra, it gets more.
Is fine.
It gets more difficult as time passes because your audience has seen it and done it before, and so like you're never going to replicate, for example, that experience that you had with Alien for the first time, because people have seen Alien now and they know what to expect. Like the idea of something bursting out of your chest, it was horrific in 1979. Now it's like, well, it's just what you expect from an Alien movie, and so it's harder and harder to shock your audience, I think, and give them something truly unexpected. It doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means you have to get more and more inventive for it. And I don't know, will we eventually reach that point where every thing that could potentially like freak your audience out and shock them has been done?
I mean, like, I think of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like the first time audiences saw that laser freakout psychedelic thing towards the end of that film, it must have been unbelievable to see that for the first time in the cinema. So I don't know if we're capable of that kind of visceral reaction from a crowd.
Well, you know, like take Jaws, for example. Like ultimately it was just a robotic shark that like kept malfunctioning and kept dying while they were trying to film it. So they had to make it very like obscure, and you know, it was all shot from the point of view of the creature. And so you didn't see it until late in the movie. But man, it made an effective film, because it was ultimately people wrestling with a creature that they thought they understood, but ultimately the hunter's becoming the hunted. And it's like a simple story, a very primal story, but it really gets you at that emotional level, that gut level. Again, like difficult to replicate that now because it's been done.
Plus the practical effects were way better. The CGI is just horrible.
Trying to show young kids anything for the first time is impossible, because Fortnite bloody has it in it. Like they'll have the alien in Fortnite, the Predator in Fortnite, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I know what this thing does." So, try and show my nephews, you know, Predator or something. They already know what he looks like, how he acts. They know it's
the Predator and it's Epstein coming at you.
I mean, imagine having real Predator horror spoiled by fucking Fortnite of all things. Like, because you can go into that movie like blind and have just an incredible experience from that. I remember the first time watching it, like, holy shit, I didn't expect any of that to happen. I don't know where this movie's going.
What was the understand? He had a mask on when I first watched it. I was that young. You know, when you're young, it's like when he takes his mask off, it's like, Christ, it gets worse.
Yeah.
What was the craziest or rowdiest cinema you've been in? I think for me, it would probably be The Human Centipede.
Ooh, you saw that in cinema?
I didn't see that in the cinema.
You
The
weirdo.
only one.
It was. You went and bought a ticket and went in
He's got
public
a
and
popcorn bucket with a hole in it, and he sits next to people going, "Oh, you want some popcorn?"
Yeah, but what was your rowdiest cinema experience?
British cinemas just don't get rowdy generally. Like there's
even
Australia.
Even when Cap picked up the hammer in Endgame, I remember my cinema was particularly like, yeah.
I see clips from cinemas in the US where they're screaming out at the screen.
Yeah, we don't at all here get that kind of reaction from anything. A whole crowd cheering and throwing the popcorn and stuff.
Yeah, it finishes. Everyone walks out quietly. Nothing's said. You don't even talk about it till you get to the car in case someone hears you talking about it. It's all very civilized and sensible.
The only time I experienced it in America was, I don't know why, but I went and saw Cloverfield when I was out there. I must have been on like holiday, and I think it was in Florida, and went and saw that. And you know the bit where like the US Army comes in and there's fucking tanks shooting at it and like big like rocket launchers just going like, and it's like they're rolling down the street between like the two characters. That bit, like people in the audience proper were like whooping and hollering and like, yeah, kill that motherfucker. Yeah, that was the closest I got to experiencing that kind of thing. But I've never seen it in a proper like action movie.
Do Americans run up and try and attack the screen? They're trying to punch the projector, go, "Ah, kill Godzilla!" And they're trying to shoot it.
They shoot
the screen.
Just go in. You can't even see half the screen. It's just light coming in from outside.
To be fair, there's compilation videos now of just Americans just attacking each other among the audience if they provoked each other or annoyed each other. So
yeah,
sometimes it must be fun. Those clips from Rise of Skywalker where Rey and Ben are about to kiss, and there's girls just screaming out, "Don't you do it! Don't do it!" And they're all screaming out that the bloody screen. I thought that would have been funny to be part of.
I've seen a few compilations of like, you know, the bit in Endgame where Thanos punches Captain Marvel. Like people cheering at that. That was
well deserved.
That was pretty good.
The hero beat the villain in that moment.
Yeah. You end up rooting for him. Just before going, I was going to read a couple of super chats. Mozislak says, "Drinker, this is unacceptable. How dare Echo pronounce Arkansas correctly? He is clearly a sentient AI."
Mo is the best. He gave me a super chat of the same denomination yesterday on my chat, so he's the best.
And for people out there, denomination is money. Just so the amount.
Just for most benefit, I'll say Arkansas, just to keep him happy.
Arse Kansas. That's the way to say it.
There's shit Kansas. Good Kansas, and then there's arse Kansas.
The other thing I was going to ask you guys about, I don't know if any of you have been watching it at all. Cobra Kai season 6 has now started, so it's the final season of Cobra Kai, and I started watching it. I've watched the first couple of episodes, and it's not very good.
Oh no,
I'm kind of shocked by this one. Like Cobra Kai has generally been pretty strong up until now, but I started this. Hopefully, like episode 3 might get better, but man, it's how can I describe this? You know how the show kind of walks that fine line between like farce and like serious drama, and it's like very self-aware. It knows how goofy the premise is, but it has a bit of fun with it. But it also knows when to take itself seriously. It's like it's gone over the line into the farcical aspect, but it doesn't know that it has. I don't know how to describe.
That happens with so many shows
when it's ridiculous.
It's like, you know, Homer's now retarded in The Simpsons. You know, like it's like that happens so often, like even in The Office and that, like the characters all just become that one thing they're known for, you know, by the end of the series. So it'd be interesting if that's what's happening. Like they just, that's the popular bit. We'll just do that more and more and more. And then you get retarded Homer.
Gary spoke about it and he said he was enjoying the new season much like he enjoys John Wick 4. And I was like, ooh. Because that's not a compliment.
No.
Am I the only one that didn't like John Wick 4?
No, you're not the only one.
Oh, because I really didn't like that film. And every time I hear anyone talk about it, it's how great it is. And I think, am I the only one on that?
I was very dour on that film as well. That was also an unpopular take for me.
Yeah, because I really did not enjoy the experience of watching that at all. Sorry to sidetrack.
No, that's fine.
It looked great. I mean, I like the fight scene. I don't know why they had to have running up the stairs twice, but I guess.
Oh my god!
I thought it was weird they had a Jedi, a blind guy that could do everything.
Yeah,
yeah, it might as well just not be blind. Yeah. I don't know as well how you do a duel with a guy like that who can't see you, but sure. Like I would just
He must
down,
buy loads of doesn't he have like loads of motion sensors? Does he just go to like IKEA and buy hundreds?
He does in one fight, yeah.
He doesn't like a kitchen fight or something, but yeah, like at the end where he's got to fight a duel against John Wick, and it's like they're straight up just standing there motionless shooting at each other. I would just
did he like run out of them? Was he like did he have like a big bag of them when he came in, two massive shopping bags, and he goes, I've kind of ran out. He's in Italy going, do you have any alarms here? And he don't speak the language.
He like walks into the supermarket and the fucking cashier is like, hey, motion sensors? He's like, you know it. And he's like, yeah, I got them right here ready for you. Let's do it.
Yeah. Specifically for a blind guy who's going to get into gunfights. It's a niche market, but it's pretty lucrative when you can capitalize on it.
You keep my store afloat. It's just one. He goes, I knew this is a terrible idea, but you're the only person I've got, and you buy hundreds and thousands of these.
Well, he's made a deal with him, like, don't tell anybody I'm buying these because I don't want my enemies to know my weakness.
Well, Chad Stahelski, who makes the John Wick films, he's signed up to do the new Highlander remake. So fingers crossed, that's going to be great.
Is that Henry Cavill?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be another shit project that Henry Cavill gets like corralled into.
Yeah.
Have you seen that meme? Give it your best. Get fucked over, get kicked out, join new franchise, and it just goes around the circle.
Yeah. I mean, he's like the most cursed guy in Hollywood. It's so unfair.
That's another example of the other subject we had today of I feel like it's fun, but the commentary in that scene is what's happening in that scene, technically speaking. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. It was pointless me even saying it.
He was probably standing there going, "This is a funny joke, but can we talk about this seriously for 2 seconds?"
We're so far into this. We're so far into this open bar. I'm just going to say it. Yes, Henry Cavill is in here in Deadpool and Wolverine as an alternate version of Wolverine, and he's really fucking cool. And Deadpool makes a comment like, "Yeah, we're going to treat you better than those assholes down the road," and it's like, "Yep, it's very on the nose and very true." And
but. He's only in it for cameo. Like
he's not going to be. Yeah, if they offered him
for now, MauLer. For now.
I haven't seen any Cobra Kai. I'm totally in the dark on this. I don't know why it doesn't appeal to me. I just want to. I like that one first film.
I will give it its due, right, for its first few seasons. To take the premise, like, because if I was to say to you, like, hey, we're going to take this 1980s movie and we're going to make a TV show sequel to this on a fucking YouTube streaming platform, because that's what it was the first season. We're going to get the original cast back and we're going to take the villain from that as going to be the protagonist. It should have had failure written all over it, and yet somehow they made it work. What's that?
Sounds like every reboot that's come out.
Yeah, and yet somehow they did a really good job with it. They made it really funny, really engaging. It was a great commentary on modern culture, I suppose. And, they gave you a different perspective on the original movies. And it somehow worked. It just had that magic about it. And the problem is they kept it going. And they introduced a whole generation of younger characters who were generally not that likable, couldn't fucking fight to save their lives, and generally just dragged the show down. But they focused more and more on them as time passed. And now I think, they might have flanderized it, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it had potential to end like last season or the one before it, with everything tied up. Because Johnny's got a family now. He's like, Terry Silver gets defeated. It's like everything's just wrapped up nicely.
Yeah.
And now we're going to the tournament.
This is the final season, so hopefully they've got something in mind to wrap this up. But in terms of how they started this season, it was rough.
Is it 3 parts?
I'd heard that, and then people were saying
5. Is it? Let me check, because it's supposed to be like 5 episodes, then 5 episodes, and I think there's a third one. Let me double check.
Last season felt like a final season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even feel like they've got anywhere to go. before even watching it. But I was looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, 3 parts. Parts 2 and 3, 5 episodes each.
Wow.
So you watch 5 episodes of it, and then 5 episodes of it 6 months later, then 5 episodes of it a year later.
Why not just do it 3 different seasons or something? Like, why split it up like this?
They used to be able to pump out 26 episodes a year in shows, and now they seem to have trouble
hour
doing
long.
more than
Like,
5.
you look at Star Trek, that was 24 episodes of hour long, like really high intelligent topics. Most of which I didn't understand because, high IQ.
Well, they don't. I guess they don't have the imagination now, and they've done away with serialized TV. It's now they've done away with episodic TV shows. So there's no more like adventure of the week kind of thing where you've just got a lot more creativity to just like go wherever you want each week. Now it's all like serialized. Like there's an entire season long story arc that has to tie everything together. And when you're locked into that, there's only so much you can do. Like you can't have 24 episodes or 22 episodes of the same story week after week. And I don't know why we lost that. I don't know why we lost episodic TV. It's such a shame because all you need is like a good.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think because you used to get like quite a large quantity. You used to get 24. Now you get like 8 episode seasons or 10 episode seasons, which is literally 2 seasons of a regular show. 3 seasons. So that was just 1 season and an hour long. So you actually got lots of content to get people invested in.
But that's what I mean. Like, but the format of it has changed. So like with something like Star Trek, it was episodic TV. So every week there was just a different adventure. Like there wasn't a huge amount. Like, there was continuity between them, but it wasn't like there was a big overarching story that they had to progress every week. And so each week you got a different adventure. Like you can play with different ideas, different new characters, all that stuff. Great. It gives the writers loads of freedom to do whatever they want, and you get a lot of variety in your TV. Now the move is very much towards big season-long story arcs. So every week it's just a continuation of the same story with the same characters. And so it wouldn't work with doing 22 episodes of that. Like it has to be shorter, but it doesn't need to be that format. You could have shows with episodic storytelling again. It's just they don't seem to want to do it for some reason. I don't know if it's budget or what.
And if they get on some...
Because doing the 24 episodes of TNG, you think in a budget sense, it's easier because you've got the same sets with very little variety apart from going down to planets. But with every show now, of course, you've got 3 or 4 different situations and scenes. You've got, these characters are doing this and these characters are over here. And sometimes they'll converge, sometimes they won't. But with a TNG episode, it's like a self-contained featurette. And it's got enough room and space because you don't have all those other considerations to just focus on ideas and plot. And a nice resolution and an arc for each episode. And it's intelligent when you watch those episodes,
That's the problem. It's like Futurama said, because intelligent things make people feel dumb. Just not doing that.
That's true, yeah. And unexpected things make people feel scared. It's just
and then the alien comes and goes, you made us feel dumb and scared. He just comes out.
Everything just needs to be dumb and predictable. Like, perfect.
And I suppose every season also has to have that thing where there's like a neuroses about wanting to get commissioned for a second or a third series. So everything has to converge and peak and then have little teaser elements as well. So they have all those considerations. Whereas if you're doing TNG, it's just 24 episodes,
Everyone wants their franchise as well because Alex Kurtzman will not let go of Star Trek. Like he will take that to the grave. Then you've got like Barbara Broccoli with James Bond, who goes, "Yeah, I think maybe he could have tits. Why not?"
I will give Barbara Broccoli, fucking stupid name. I'll give her due though, right? She did specifically say James Bond will always be a man, not necessarily a white man or a straight man, but like a man. So like,
yeah, but like women can be men, so
yeah. They had this idea though back in the Pierce Brosnan days where you had Die Another Day with Jinx, right? They were going to give her own spin-off. She was going to get a movie unto herself, and you would have had the beginnings of like a Bond cinematic universe, which okay, it could have worked if that movie hadn't been absolute dog shit. But they were already starting to play with the idea of like branching out a little bit and having different characters. And it's like, okay, I don't mind that. You've got a spin-off character with her own either TV show or movie series or whatever, but Bond is still Bond. Okay, fine. Now it's just like, oh, Bond could be anything or anyone or whatever. Like, might as well get Echo Doggo to play Bond at this point.
It's the impetus or the motivation. Like, if you think like you'd have a female Bond because back then, because it would have been interesting, or there's a specific actress, and I can definitely see that would be awesome. I guess that's fine. But if you go from the perspective of we definitely want to empower this type of people and change the audience and bring it like this, so this is our motivation, then that's where it sucks.
But aren't they like they're trying to do like every Bond is a Bond instead of just the Bond, so they can go, well, it's just a code name now, and you're like, brilliant. So that's fucking stupid. Because they can just go Bond's a mantle like Captain America.
Well, it ignores the fact that there was a kind of loose continuity between the Bonds from the original franchise, I suppose, because Roger Moore's version of the Bond would make reference to the fact that he was once married and his wife had been killed, and that was like a reference to George Lazenby's version of Bond. There would be all kind of references to like previous like gadgets and adventures and stuff. So there was a kind of loose continuity there, implying that it is the same man. It's just, hey, we've got a different actor playing him, and don't question it too much.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It was like the Austin Powers meme where it's like, just don't think about it too much. Like, it's fine.
Remember how I was a virus and then I got nuked on that island?
Yeah.
Robot Head, you retweeted something from George Lazenby who was saying that from now on I'm stepping down, I'm not doing any more acting or signing any more autographs. Was anyone chasing George Lazenby for roles?
It was a little bit sad, that, wasn't it? Because I don't think they were beating his door down to use him in anything. So the last we heard of him was in 2022, where they were interviewing him before. There was a tour where they were playing all the Bond music, and they were bringing him on stage and interviewing him. And there was an outcry because all he wanted to talk about was how many women he'd rooted in the past and how awesome he was. And the first show got hundreds of complaints, and they kicked him off the show, and he had to come out and apologize. So, because he made fun of transvestites, and he just talked about how many women he'd fucked. So, I think that's what he's retiring from.
Well, as a footnote, Ian Fleming once said in an interview that when he wrote one of his books towards the end of the series, where he deliberately put James Bond as kind of like in the background and tried to forefront a new character, and no one bought the book. So I guess that could be an important little thing.
A lot of people could learn that from that lesson, couldn't they?
Because you know how people are still writing James Bond books, like they're ghostwritten or whatever. There was one that was doing the rounds a few months back, and it was Bond commenting on like a room full of politicians and like industry leaders and stuff that he was in, like lamenting the fact that it was so non-diverse and it was all just a bunch of straight white men. And I thought, why the fuck would Bond care about anything like that? The Bond that we know, like, would just like wouldn't care. That would just be the mission. To like mingle
when
with
he just went full racist, he's going, "You crackers and all, you honkies." He starts doing all that.
Yeah, it's just like a politically correct Bond. Like, get fucked. Nobody wants that. Nobody in their right mind wants that.
If Shooty Gatland is cast as Bond, then I'm out. I'm just switching off my laptop and computer and TV for the rest of history.
But it shows how desperate they are. They just keep dragging him into the present day, and no one wants it. No one needs to see it. You know, they started again with the Bourne series of films. You know, they could have just ran with that idea, but dragging James Bond, but then changing him just makes no sense.
There was a rumor, and it was obviously complete bullshit, but it was going to be like Christopher Nolan was going to direct a Bond movie set in the 1960s, like during the Cold War. Classic era, like no like crazy high technology or anything, just like pretty down gritty spy craft stuff. And I thought that would be fucking brilliant. Like that's exactly what Bond needs to be. That's his setting. He's a Cold War guy. That's where he should be. And so it's not going to happen, obviously, but man, what a way to just reinvigorate that franchise. Just take him back to his roots, strip it back, make it interesting again, make it smart.
Have him slap a woman to, stop her from freaking out.
Well, she's getting a little hysterical.
There is actually a James Bond film where a woman is talking and just being vaguely, slightly sassy to him, and he just literally slaps her on the ass to shut her up. That's actually in a James Bond.
Well, in real life, he'd slap him in the face, so they had to tone it down for the movie.
It was probably like Sean Connery just ad-libbing it. It's like, you're not supposed to slap her in this scene.
Yeah.
Like, I just do.
Well, the problem is he's had a few drinks and he just keeps punching. And he goes, James, 5 slaps is enough. He goes, oh, okay.
Yeah, but the 1960s would be awesome because then, like, the 60s, the Jaguars that they had back then, all that kind of cool stuff would have been great.
Well, I think it's just, that era of spying and stuff, it's very much associated with the Cold War. And I think the Pierce Brosnan movies did their best to bring it into the modern era. And I think they succeeded to some extent because it was very much still a hangover from the Cold War mindset in the 90s. But when you've got it now, the Daniel Craig era, where it's like he just feels directionless, that whole ethos for having a gentleman spy, the 00 section, it just felt unnecessary.
Also, who's the enemies? Like, they never pick China because they want to sell the film there. So it's like, well, it'd be funny though if they gave him like proper bad missions. Like they went to, your job is to sell crack to kids on the street. He's doing like all the evil MI6 stuff they did. They go, your job. There's a climate change protester. Your job is to go in there and strangle him to death.
I remember back in the day, like there was one of the Roger Moore Bonds where he goes to Harlem in New York, and it's just the most insane thing seeing Roger Moore, like the whitest of white guys, in a bar in Harlem, like ordering a whiskey. It's just so.
And it's even when Harlem was like destroyed, it looked like a bomb had gone off.
Because they legit take him out back because they're going to execute him, and it's like Berlin in 1945. Like it's just ruined buildings everywhere. Like how the fuck is this New York?
And he's got the big collars, the big flared suit on. He looks fantastic.
Yeah. It was good times anyway. But
there's a few problems in that film that you wouldn't see getting remade today.
they wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't play well today. That's definitely.
It would be funny though if he was just trying to stop the civil rights movement. He goes, don't let that get signed. And he's just an evil agent. Women are going to be able to vote. Your job is to stop the suffragettes.
There's
you need to know your limits, women.
A scene in one of the original Ian Fleming novels, and at the time I was really annoyed because it was one of those prissy things where editors had taken out lines that they thought were objectionable. But in retrospect, there's like one passage they took out where he's saying it's in Harlem or something like that, and they're talking about the black people, and it's like animalistic, and they're like gorillas hooting at each other. So I guess maybe they should have taken that paragraph out.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been.
They're not going to get any Bond girls.
There is the Diamonds Are Forever, where the black woman turns into a gorilla. Did I just kill the stream?
Yeah, that was like.
I'm trying to cast.
Remember when they're in the casino and she's trying to get away, the redhead girl, and she's going through all the in the casino. It's like it's a circus, I think, and they got all the kids' play area, and she goes into a room and they bring out that black woman, and it goes all crazy, and then a gorilla runs out and attacks the kids. I'm not making this up.
I do not remember that. No, that would stick out.
I'm gonna have to watch Diamonds Are Forever again.
It's been a while.
It's in Vegas. Yeah. I think it's circus. There's all kids play, like it's like meant to be a magic show, and they bring out the native woman and be careful, kids, and all the kids scream and run out. She gets away.
Sure, this wasn't live. You're just watching a Las Vegas show, and it just went horribly wrong.
I think it was Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I do miss Bond girls.
Confirm that I'm not making that up.
No, some of the people in chat are like, yeah, that was indeed a scene. But no, I miss genuinely hot Bond girls because I feel like we haven't really had them for quite a while. Because we can't portray women as being hot.
What was Anna? What's her face? Anna de Armas. But she said no to him. Yeah, she went, "You want it?" And she went, "No."
That's where the movie straight up went into Phoebe Waller-Bridge territory, and I am willing to bet that's the scene that she wrote, where it's all this like very awkward, like he tries to flirt with her, and she's like, "Oh, you think I'm here because I'm interested in you? No, that's so silly. No, I'm your contact, and I have to help you out with this."
I'm surprised they didn't mace him.
I know. Yeah, it's just.
Well, she's doing Tomb Raider as well, so you're gonna have more of that.
Yeah. I can't wait for Lara Croft to be a lesbian and probably disabled and black.
But I like the fact, though, the recent Lara Crofts, all she does now is go, here you go, this totem, I'm just going to give to the shitty tribe that don't look after it, that are probably going to use it to rub their asses with, instead of just putting her up in a nice museum where everyone can watch it.
I think that's one of the things that they overlook with the modern Tomb Raider games and with a lot of things, really, because like they have a real problem with like this idea of like taking artifacts from their indigenous populations. It's like, do you not realize like they had to dig them out of the ground? Like it's not like the Egyptians of the 1920s were taking really great care of like the pyramids and like all the artifacts in the Valley of the Kings and stuff. Like they were just abandoned, and the only stuff that was there was because fucking thieves hadn't found it yet. Like the pyramids have been raided countless times in the centuries after they were sealed
pure
up.
White. They had this big limestone scale and a gold on top, which all been pillaged.
Yeah.
I would go full colonial with that film, though. I just have like literally red coat showing up, going open fire, and just shooting all the natives. I would go overboard colonialism. As you speak English now, your name's Tom. As what? He whips him.
But it's worth pointing out. It's like, there's something to be said for preserving artifacts and stuff, and not just like leaving them buried in the ground where they're going to decay and get lost forever. But like, yeah, we're not allowed to portray that on screen, I suppose, now, because that's colonialism. It's like, well,
she's a thief as well.
Yeah.
Like, she steals for thrill. She doesn't need the money. They forgot that part of it, which is like, she's a femme fatale.
Well, that's what made the first game so interesting. It's like she didn't need the money. She wasn't, living in some poverty-stricken hellhole, or like she's got this like abandoned house that's like falling apart or whatever, like you have in the subsequent games. She was already wealthy as fuck. She did this stuff because she found it enjoyable. And she took on this mission because it was a challenge. She just wanted to find this artifact because it was cool and it was something for her to do. That's pretty interesting because she made that conscious decision as a character. I'm going to go after this thing because I choose to. That's a pretty empowered character right there, rather than the current Tomb Raider where she accidentally picks up a thing that she didn't understand and then it triggers like a fucking world-ending disaster. And then she spends the next 12 hours crying.
She's more evil in the new ones because even though she gives the artifacts back, she disturbs this magic thing that kills God knows how many people every time.
Yeah.
She's killed so many people in the newer, more safe version of herself.
Well, in the original game, she didn't really kill anyone. She killed animals that happened to be in her way. And that was pretty much it.
Trinity trying to kill her. It's more self-defense, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Tomb Raider, but in the original films, in the original games, is it actually recognizable societies or just like generic abstracted old ancient civilizations?
In the first game, there isn't really any cultures there, like because they're all dead and gone by that point. So you're just going through the ruins of what they once built, and so they're generally populated by animals that you have to fight because they're going to try and kill you. I think in the second one, it's mostly mobsters and stuff that you fight. So like they're very much present day guys. Again, not like ancient cultures or anything like that. So the original games just kind of avoided that question for the most part.
She also avoids the Middle East, which she should go.
Yeah. What's that?
She gets off the air. I was saying she's never gone to the Middle East, which would be funny.
Yeah. It's going to be that Resident Evil 5 problem again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Killing the wrong people.
There were zombies in that. I can't believe they said that when they're killing innocent people when the fucking zombies.
And they're trying to eat his face. So, yeah, I think you're probably okay to kill them. just before we finish up, shall I do a few super chats here? If you guys are available to answer them. Cashin says, I finally caught a live show. I'm a medevac pilot and love to decompress after long shifts with a 6-pack and listen to the open bar. Here's a drink on me for the hours of entertainment and watching awful Star Wars on my behalf. Thank you very much, man. And much respect to you for doing that job. That is awesome stuff.
I'd love if he was rescuing people and blasting this through the helicopter or whatever he flies. They're dying on a stretcher listening to this conversation.
Those poor people.
Boogie's big flappy tits.
You're doing world building at that point.
Yeah, we've got the Boogie verse. Yeah. Just seen behind the scenes of Rogue Elements. The wonderful cast and team got me so excited. I'm on my 3rd beer starting the weekend with a big smile here for Open Bar. Thanks to all of you guys. God knows I needed that drink. Cheers to you. Thank you very much, man. And I hope you enjoy the drink. Let me just scroll back here. Peoplesus says, watch Sargon's last Star Wars vid. Good stuff. Was that the cargo cult of Star Wars? I think if so, I've seen that one and it was good. Yeah. Michael Brockie says, saw D&W twice already. What a great movie. Deadpool and Wolverine. So yeah, you've seen it twice already, which is impressive because it's only just come out. Twitted my tipples says, see you on Saturday, lads. That'll be for the Boogie stream.
Yep.
We're ready. Paul Stramby says, halfway through Deception Game, it seems like you must have interviewed veterans to make these action and field surgery sequences realistic. Well, I like a bit of gory, open wounds and stuff in my stories, so I tried to do what I could to make it believable. RRTNZ says, given that the TVA are in it, I can't say that I'm excited for Deadpool and Wolverine unless we see their Welsh variants who sing in harmony about how it's always fucking raining.
They deleted that scene, man. It would have been great, but never mind.
Shan Wickrissing says, hi, Robot Head from Sydney, Australia. Just checked out Deadpool 3 at the Sydney IMAX, which only took 8 years to open after refurbishing. P.S. Check your email more often. You're like a year behind.
How do they know that? But they're correct. Yes. Email me and I'll get back to one day. I'm as up to the emails as I am with videos.
Yeah. They do.
Hello out there in Sydney.
Canada Plus says, hail panel, why do people hate Guardians of the Galaxy 2? I always thought it was the best of the 3 movies, but in rankings it's always the lowest. There's a question for all of us.
I quite like it, but I think it can get a tad directionless, that movie, until the 3rd act kicks in. Like, you don't exactly know what the thrust of the story even is, but I really like the character work in it.
Okay. Shan also says, Reaper, in one of your Doctor Who videos, you asked how the 15th Doctor knew to hit the TARDIS with a hammer to split it into 2 safely. It's because he saw it as the 14th Doctor and remembered it as the 15th. Stop. Wait, where are you going? I think he's implying that you're just going to fucking leave now. This bullshit.
Dude, when I saw that, just so if anyone didn't see it, one of the latest Doctor Who things, like they split into 2 Doctors, the bi-generation, but there's obviously only one TARDIS. And so Shudigatwa's Doctor takes a mallet and hits the TARDIS with it, and then another TARDIS spawns. You just want to die watching this shit. Yes, that's a real show.
Jesus Christ.
I can't take it. You just watch this shit and you're like, no, this isn't real. Go away.
Oh,
this can't be a real fucking show. It can't be. It can't be disregarded.
Well, it is, yeah. Has everyone watched the full season?
Nope.
Yes.
It's. Would you say it's the worst one?
You know what's funny? There's one episode I missed that a lot of people have said is the worst one. It's the racist one. The Dot in the Bubble, I think it was called.
That one was so bad. Like, the machine wants to kill all the humans on this planet. So it does it with slugs, the slowest animal, and then it kills them alphabetically in the slowest way.
Oh my God.
And then it's established basically everyone has got this tiny dot, which is a little machine that it can fire through people's heads. Everyone's got one. So it's got a loaded gun to every human's head, and instead has chosen to make slugs to eat everyone.
Why?
Slowly, alphabetically. I don't know.
It sounds hyperbolic, but the latest season might be the worst Doctor Who's ever had. I'm not even sure. I watched nearly all the episodes, and every single fucking one was a disappointment. Which is difficult when you're expecting it to be shit.
To the franchise, whereas these ones are just terribly written.
Yeah, horribly written for sure.
But review-wise and viewing-wise, it's the worst series literally in 60 years. And the UK population has grown by 17 million people since 1963. So that's astonishing.
Oh, dude, nobody's watching that shit. And if anything, they're all tuning out because, man, the Sutek finale was so bad.
Is it going to come back for like another season? Have they confirmed it, or is it?
It's in the air, which is really scary. It's who would have thought?
Because Disney bought the rights to it a little bit. No, not the rights to stream it, I think. And they haven't really renewed it. So,
but Ncuti Gatwa is now going to be playing Algernon in Importance of Being Earnest. That guy's like a turd that won't flush.
He has come across as a bit of an insufferable prick. Like the whole publicity tour for Doctor Who, that's the one thing I recall about this. He just kept talking about how like it's so amazing to be playing the most gay, blackest Doctor Who that's ever existed. Cool. Like, are you gonna bring anything else to the role apart from your like innate characteristics that you were born with? No? Okay, cool. So you're not a very good actor then, are you?
Every episode.
He does. He cries every episode.
Every episode, yeah. He is useless. He's worse than useless because he gets in the way.
I hate what they have done to this. I know that's like a redundant statement at this point because I could say that about any franchise, but I just hate the fact that like this is their interpretation of what the Doctor is now. You know, when you take the great versions of him, the Tom Baker version and stuff, like this very like paternalistic figure, like this father figure for like the companions, and you turn him into this fucking walking joke and you expect people to accept it. Why do you think people are rebelling against this? Why do you think people are just tuning out? It's because you've lost the very essence of what the character was. It's not the Doctor anymore. You might have given him the name, but that's all it is.
I do believe these new creators hate with jealousy the original creators of all these things, Star Trek and Star Wars and all of it, because the way they want to bring down these characters that are loved, if it happened once, you'd think it's bizarre, but it's happened across the board. They're doing it to every character that's been loved, and it just seems to come from this weird, jealous place where they just don't like that a character was just a good, well-written character that had morals, and we all like them. You know, they just can't take it.
I think it's on that subconscious level. They know that like whatever they create will never be as well received as what came before them. Like they'll never equal the achievements of that previous generation of writers, and they hate it, and it makes them angry. They hate themselves, but they hate the creations of these people even more because it's better than anything they can make, and it's just jealousy.
And it's like a safety net, because if they try and make it as good and go along the same idea, then they're getting judged against it. Where they go completely the opposite way, drag it down and change the character, then, you know, they can blame it on that they're more artistic than the audience. They're smarter than everyone. Yep. They don't have to listen to our criticisms.
Yep.
And just the vehemence of it, just how absolute, like Doctor Who, in every possible aspect. And with the Acolyte, every possible aspect. And then with Velma, just so mean-spirited, and again, every possible aspect is made for the message and the modern audience in a cynical, self-righteous kind of way, and a smarminess to it as well. And all three of them plummeted to being shockingly poor received. So I think we've bottomed out in some sense because they can't get any worse, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, Velma is like rock bottom for Western civilization. Like, I don't think anything we produce can get worse than that.
Yeah.
Remember Santa Inc.? That would be its competition, right?
That was pretty close, yeah.
What was that scene where he's talking to the elf and it has one moment of self-realization where he goes, "You're just not good with kids." And then he goes, "You can be in the background taking control of everything, and he's the front. And she goes, "Fuck you, Santa," because it was never about helping the kids. It was just about being seen as Santa, which really gets you to see what they think like.
Oh yeah. Confucius says, I don't think they really knew what they were doing with that Deadpool popcorn bucket, but I would totally buy a Drinker MauLer popcorn bucket. Merch when? Also, Boogie now has liar tattooed on his face. Marvelous.
He does.
We don't get any of those good popcorn buckets in Australia. It's annoying. They complained and they said it's a completely different company that runs it in America that runs it in Australia. So we don't get any of them. That June one, I really wanted to go to town on that June thing. That looked enticing.
It's the terrifying fleshlight, basically. Kevin O'Neill says, "Hail panel and chat. I just had tendon surgery yesterday, which was my wiping arm, sadly, and I'm orbiting fucking Saturn right now. Cheers all, and thanks for keeping me entertained while I'm on the mend."
People really open up in your comments, don't they?
I know, we got all the people's bodily functions here. It's great. I hope you feel better, man.
Put two pillows together and fuck them.
Yeah.
Well, if his condition deteriorates, then maybe the helicopter guy will come and retrieve him, take him to hospital.
Unironically, probably extensive lists of how to help online that you could find in this situation.
There's a solution to every problem. Let's put it.
Sit on your arm till it's dead, and then pretend it's someone else.
The stranger.
The stranger.
Nathan Cassidy says, "Can't wait to see EFAP roast Boogie's new face tattoo of the word liar in Comic Sans." Yeah. I suppose that's coming. What's this one? Grand Wazoo says, welcome to the Fellowship of the Drink. So welcome aboard, sir. Thank you. I Could Be Surfing says, which Disney production has done the most damage to Star Wars?
You mean director or?
No, just any movie or TV show or whatever. Which do you think has fucked it up the most?
They've done it all in all different ways.
Yeah, there's lots of different metrics you can go with for like its financial capabilities, how it's seen culturally or critical acclaim, or actually just how much it fucked up like the continuity of the storyline. And I don't know, man. There's a lot of takers for that trophy.
I think in terms of just the broad fan base reaction, I think it's probably going to have to be TLJ. That was the first massive backlash.
Unironically split the fandom in half. Like it got half of them were furious and wanted retribution for how much they damaged everything, and forever looked at Star Wars, at least under Disney's control, as something to be very fucking suspicious of. And the other half were like, man, this was amazing. Can't wait to see Star Wars go in further directions, which were all splintered again when Rise of Skywalker came out and basically pissed all over TLJ in a couple of ways. So,
well, I'm going to be meta. I'm going to be meta and say that I'm going to time travel and say that Charmin obeyed Chinoy's Rey film will be the worst one. I'm going to say.
I mean, that's just that's
but now we don't care.
Yeah, it's like if your house had burned down and like fallen over, and like this just bulldozes the rubble further into the ground, like it's already destroyed.
And then there's a homeless person taking a shit on the ashes. Like, do we care by now? It's like the Acolyte. They're rewriting the complete history of Star Wars, but by now, who cares? Go to town, do whatever you want.
I put the entire canonical thing of A New Hope into one video now, just for my own amusement.
That was, I mean, that was the thing of beauty. That because like trying to actually make sense of it, like, good Lord. Scottish Nerd says, "Hail Drinker, MauLer, and panel. Had a thought that Alice Rivers is projecting herself into Damon's head from River Run through the Weirwood. Sir Simon said that she went there to help Lord Tully."
That's what I said on Gary's stream, and I've been met with a lot of criticism of that's insane. I can't wait to be proven right if that happens. If not, though, well, I mean, it's fine. Like, if I'm completely wrong. But there's two, for anybody who's watching it, this isn't spoilery, really. There's two factors. One, when she's talking to Damon in one of the scenes in episode, I want to say 5, Simon looks at her without really looking at her. It's like he's looking through her. He's walking past her and he glances, but in such a way that doesn't come across as though he's seeing a person. Instead, he's just looking in an area. And then the other is, he says that she, despite her best efforts, she couldn't save Grover Tully. And the way he says it implies that she's been there for a while as opposed to recently, which is what Damon assumes. So I'm hoping, Yeah, I'm hoping for that. The version of her that he's been encountering in the castle is actually not the physical version of her, because I think it would be a cool
How is the
twist.
second season? I haven't seen it yet.
I don't think it's as good as the first, but I can't speak to it fully because obviously there's still 2 episodes to go. It's been quite controversial online. A lot of people have been very mad at it. The main criticism I've found from people saying it's paced too slow.
Doesn't Sir Simon directly reference her as a character
Yes.
at one point? He does. And when you're talking about the scene where he's coming towards Damon, where they're working on the construction of the thing, and he sort of he does glance at her, I think.
Well, so I went through it. Damon's looking directly in a particular direction. Mm-hmm. Simon walks in and he looks and he stares to where Damon was looking, but he doesn't acknowledge her. And if you keep an eye on the scene, he steps in front of her, and when his head sways back where she should be, she's disappeared. So I think they're being really subtle with it. Or I'm completely imagining things. We'll find out soon enough.
Casey Boyd says, MauLer, I watched Smoking Aces on your recommendation a few days ago, and I liked it. I see people hating the ending all over forums, but I thought it was fine. What are your thoughts on the ending?
I kind of love the ending, even though it's arguably a bit nihilistic. Without spoiling anything, Ryan Reynolds' character makes a decision that is arguably hyper-destructive, but he does it because of the injustice of his role in the entire system with his friend, and he having been cogs, he makes a big decision to change up a bunch of things. Smoking Aces is not an amazingly written film, but there's loads of things I really appreciate about it, and I don't know why more films haven't been made of a higher, or not necessarily higher budget, but ones that will be notable. It's just that the concept is a bounty gets dropped on someone so big that it attracts like 20 different assassins from loads of different backgrounds and cultures, all to try and kill him at once, and they all come across each other and all kinds of crazy shenanigans happen. I find it to be a fun film.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I'm probably going to finish up there, actually. But I want to say to my lovely panel, thanks for coming on tonight, you guys. I appreciate it. And we tried to not spoil Deadpool and Wolverine too much for you guys. We kept it fairly vague, but hopefully you got a sense at least of what the movie's like. And yeah, thank you to you guys for coming on board for this. I appreciate you for coming in, and my mods for doing the usual awesome work that they always do, and everyone in chat for keeping us company this evening. But
yeah,
I will say, I guess that's all we've got for tonight on Open Bar. So go away now.
Bye.
Jeez.